Oh, wait.
There we go.
Oh, there we are.
There we go. What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your boy Adam Perez back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report. We've got 6 incredible topics for you guys today. We're going to be diving into Avengers Doomsday as the Russo brothers come out and talk a little bit about what certainly brought them back. We also have our huge MCU 2025 Disney Plus slate that we're going to be talking about with you guys. Also, we also got an official trailer when it comes to Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We're going to be breaking down and talking about this upcoming series and a ton more, guys. So sit back, enjoy your afternoon, and we'll see you on the other side. What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? Welcome to another live episode of A-Plus Hero Report, streaming live for you guys today over on our YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch as well, wherever you're certainly watching us from today. Thank you so much for certainly joining us and wrapping up your weekend. We got some honorable mentions at the top we're going to be talking about quickly. We've got some 6 topics that we're going to be breaking down, and of course, your live viewer questions at the end of the show. So thank you so much, everybody, for certainly joining us. Doing a little bit of an afternoon show here today, but it's good to have everybody here. I know we got some people on the live chat we'll certainly bring up here in just a minute, but also joined none other than by my fellow co-host Stuart Branscombe, as always. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, not much. Just another week, another podcast.
It's good to have you here, man. We did do a review for Agatha All Along that wind up wrapping up this past week. I think they hit us with a double episode season finale, if I'm not mistaken. I do have my review up on the channel. I still got a little catching up to do when it comes to the Penguin, but we got a ton of content for you guys to certainly talk about. What you been up to today, man? How's your weekend been so far, Stuart?
It's been a chill weekend. A couple days ago, I started bartending for the first time at the theater, and that's been surprisingly a lot of fun. I'm super slow at making cocktails, but I'm getting the hang of most other things. Behind the bar, it's been fun. And then, of course. We'll definitely be talking about the thing that happened at the very beginning of the episode, but of course, watched the 2-part season finale of Agatha, and I was shocked to be greeted with a trailer, or more of a teaser of some upcoming projects which I just did not expect. Also, I just got to say this because I haven't been reviewing Agatha with you, but I have been watching it. And I'm so glad I was wrong about this show, because I kept saying, my expectations for the show were pretty low. I wasn't really excited for it or anything. I was going to give it a watch, see how it was. But if it was going to be bad, the best part is if it was a bad show, I wasn't going to be disappointed because I didn't have that many expectations. And I think that was the best mentality to go into the show, because I ended up just loving it by the time that it ended. So I'm kind of glad, that this show completely proved me wrong. And, I think with that show being good, and then the teaser that they show at the very beginning getting me excited. Yeah, I'm really excited for what's to come next year.
They what teaser did they give at the beginning? Was that the MCU slate? Was that the coming in 2025 slate, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was like on if it happens every time you play the episode, or if it's one of those random ads that may or may not pop up. But that's what I got from when we ended up watching episode 8. That ad came on for us, and then that's when oh my gosh. Well, like I said, we'll get into that later though.
Yeah, I don't remember if I saw the ad. Oh, you know what it was? Is that I think I downloaded the episodes and watched them from my computer, so I don't think it just had the recap attached to it. So I definitely missed the ad in that. So I didn't know know that they showed it before that episode, but that's pretty cool that they did. I'm glad that you liked Agatha, man. I was a really big fan of it. I continue to be impressed with the showrunner Jacqueline Schaefer, giving us two bangers in WandaVision and Agatha All Along. I really love that she seems to have a grasp on just this witch world and these characters and things like that. And I definitely want to see more from her. I hope that's they certainly bring her back for more. But yeah, I was a really big fan of Agatha All Along. And I know people like to compare Agatha and the Penguin right now just because they're both out. But I'm just happy that we've had two great sort of comic book television series honestly on at the same time. I think they've both been handled really, really well. So kudos to them for bringing those characters to life. Because yeah, like you, I went in with like no expectations, especially in regards to Agatha. At first I was like, why do we even need this show in the first place? But the idea of being able to tell sort of stories that aren't so heavily reliant on other MCU projects from the movies, if you will, and being able to tell its own sort of centralized story. It really worked for me, man. So I had a really good time with this one.
It's so weird that people are comparing the two. It'd be like comparing Buffy the Vampire Slayer to The Sopranos. They're both great shows in their own right, but like they have nothing other than the fact that they're based on comic book characters.
I do feel like I saw that comparison early on when they first sort of dropped, but I think as the seasons kind of have progressed, I think people have come to kind of just really appreciate the idea that it's just like, damn, we got some really good comic book television series right now. So I'm glad that people are enjoying as much as they are. But yeah, let us know your thoughts, guys. If you had the opportunity to check out Agatha All Along, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And while we do that, a couple things real quick. My internet is kind of up and down, similar to last week. So if I glitch out, if the quality drops, if I drop off and Stuart has to man the ship.
Oh, Adam, I think you're frozen. I'm totally kidding.
But yeah, just bear with us, guys. Certainly be patient. And I haven't been feeling too well, y'all. My stomach has been acting up. So we'll see if I can get through 2.5, 3 hours of this show. But before we do, let's get into some live chat. We got Enrique in the house. Just saw the official trailer for Marvel Studios 2025 lineup. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that here in a little bit. Enrique saw a new trailer for a new SpongeBob special titled Snow Yellow and the Seven Jellies, and it will premiere on Nickelodeon on November 11th, continuing to celebrate 25 years of SpongeBob. How many movies are they? How many specials do they have this year? I feel like every week we do an episode, Enrique's got like a new SpongeBob special for us.
Also, okay, so you're familiar with Asylum, right? The studio that does like basically super cheap mockbuster movies that are just like really cheap knockoffs of the big hits. Oh, so they did like Transmorphers, for example, right before Transformers came out. That's basically what they do. They make movies like a few months before a big hit comes out. And it used to be that they would make money from Blockbuster because people would get them thinking that it was an actual tie-in, and then that's where the money would come from. I don't know how they make their money now with Blockbuster not being a thing anymore, but anyways, they have a new movie coming out. Just the title remind me of this because it is based on Snow White, and it's called Snow White and the Seven Samurai. And guess who's going to be in it?
Don't tell me Chris Hemsworth.
No. Liana Ramirez.
Whoa, really? Roxy from was it Beast Morphers?
Hell yeah. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. I'm assuming she's Snow White.
I actually don't know. I saw the trailer. I couldn't remember if I saw her in the trailer. I just saw her like on the IMDb list because I saw the title, which was what really like kind of caught my eye. And then I looked at the cast. And I'm like, oh hey, from Power Rangers.
That's cool. I'll have to check out more information about that one, man. That's pretty cool. I'm glad you let me know about that. I'm always interested in see what Liana's going to get into next. Enrique also says during the Balloon Fest, the new Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, balloons and floats will be heading to Herald Square, including Goku from Dragon Ball. Yeah, I do remember Goku having a balloon rather recently, right? Like I want to say within the last like 5-10 years, he recently just got a balloon during Macy's. Maybe like within 5 years. Maybe I'm tripping though. And finally, Disney Channel is going to be air Tangled on Friday, leading up to 2 new episodes of Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. Very nice. Who else we got in here? We got Blossom in the house. What's up, Blossom? So good to see you in here as always. Ram Jam coming through, man. Hey, Adam and Stuart, good to see you, buddy. Marcelina says, well, both Penguin and Agatha are villain-related shows, and it's a new trend to have comic book villains as main leads, except it's well-written, unlike Sony. Yeah.
Oh, burn.
Burn. Jeez, Marcelina, starting early, man. Starting early. But it's good to have everybody here. Look, as we go through these honorable mentions, as we go through these main topics, at the end of the day, we always want to know some of your guys' thoughts and opinions on these topics. So feel free to certainly let your voice be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs, after the video wraps up for you guys. If you want to support the channel in any way, super chats really does go a long way for us. If you want to go ahead and submit something over, we'll definitely stop what we're doing. We'll go ahead and certainly highlight you and talk about your super chat for sure. If you can't help us out monetarily, that's more than fine. You can certainly help us out by subscribing to the channel, hitting that like button, and of course, sharing these videos. Let everybody know we are currently live, ladies and gentlemen. So, Stuart, let's go ahead and kick this off and get into our first segment of the day. Shout out to Garth Gutierrez coming through also. Chilling or what? What's up, gents? Good to see you in here, Darth. Thank you so much, man, for certainly coming through today, as always. You know what? I didn't even change the color scheme for today's episode. Since we got Doomsday up top, let me see if I can get me a dark. Yeah, let's go with voodoo green for Dr. Doom. Why not?
Match the cloak.
Yeah, exactly. You got any honorable mentions for us today, Stuart, by any chance?
Ooh, do I? I thought of that. Dang, I came in thinking of something, but then like completely slipped my mind. You go first, and then I'll hopefully think of something.
Yeah, no problem. I think I got a few that we can dive into real quick. First and foremost, for those of you who don't know, I personally have not been following this universe, but the Poonaverse. The Poonaverse, that's right. The Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey universe, as they've taken a bunch of classic characters and turned them into horror slasher films. The Poonaverse continues to grow. This week, believe it or not, we actually got our very first look at one of their next upcoming films in Pinocchio Unstrung. And we got the opportunity to finally see the Pinocchio character firsthand. They went all out to go ahead and get it all puppeteered like and everything for this one. But this is our first glimpse at Pinocchio from the upcoming Pinocchio Unstrung. And if you thought that wasn't creepy enough, let me go ahead and actually show you. They wind up dropping a quick little sizzle reel of exactly what it's going to look like. And I thought this was actually pretty badass, Stuart. Let's get this rolling here. And look at the, if you guys can see that, look at the design of this thing. If that's not creepy as hell.
I'm actually just kind of amazed, only because like you look at how incredibly cheap the costumes were for Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. This is incredible. Like I'm assuming the popularity, they probably made enough money to where they could actually spend more on special effects. Because that looks really good.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised too, but I think you nailed it in the sense of when it comes to, while they have had really cheap budgets, these movies have made over what their budget is. They have been making profit and making money. It may not be huge blockbuster hits, but in comparison to what they have been making, this is why they continue to make these films, is because they make them on such a low budget, but they get a great return for them. And believe it or not, they got the legend, Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund, is actually joining the cast for Pinocchio Unstrung. And for those of you who are wondering who actually made the Pinocchio doll, if you are big into slasher films, you may have heard the name Todd Masters. He's an Emmy Award-winning special effects artist known for Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, and Child's Play. And he also worked on Dune Part 2. So they are really getting some incredible talent behind putting this Pinocchio doll together. They are definitely not playing around this time, Stuart. So impressive cast and crew they're putting together so far.
That's cool. You know what? It all feels like this was just like a cheap idea to make some easy money, but at least that easy money that they made, like, is being put to good use to like actually make something creative. So I
Yeah.
like that. This makes me actually want to go back and, watch Blood and Honey again, because I actually never finished it. I actually got really bored of it super fast, but it's like, I kind of appreciate what they're doing with what they made from it, you know?
I do wonder if they have I do wonder how I heard the second. I don't know if the second one was any better or not, but I definitely expect the second one to have been a little bit better. So maybe if you can get through the first one, maybe you'll come to enjoy the second one too. Poor Blossom over here says, "Holy macaroni, that puppet redefines nightmare fuel." Yeah, it definitely does for sure. What else we got? Honorable mentions. Believe it or not, Stuart, we got a live action Lego movie in development. Universal Pictures announced this week that the Lego Group, under its deal with Universal Pictures, is making 3 live action movies. So we're getting a trilogy of live action Lego movies here. We got directors Jack Kasdan, Patty Jenkins, and the Attack the Block filmmaker Joe Cornish are going to go ahead and tackle the live action Lego movie. I've been trying to figure this out all week long, Stuart. Like, how do you make a live action Lego movie? And the first thing that kind of came to mind, let me see. The first thing that came to mind when I thought about it was, if you remember from the Lego movie, the animated one with Chris Pratt, there was a sort of like a live action portion with Will Ferrell and stuff like that towards the end
Mhm.
and whatnot. So I do wonder if it's something along those lines. But I don't know. I don't know like how they're gonna make a live action movie, but they have plans on making 3 of them.
I don't know if this is what they meant, because technically that would still be considered animation, but I'm not sure. But like, maybe they use like actual stop motion, because like the movies,
Ah,
they look really good, because like they try to imitate actual stop motion, make it look like you're looking at real Legos. But I'm wondering if like they're actually, if Universal now is trying to go the direction of like actually using Legos. In which case that's pretty ambitious. And I've seen people on YouTube, they can make some really creative Lego videos with just like what they have on hand. So I can only imagine how incredible you can make it look when you're actually given like a full Hollywood studio budget, and you're basically getting paid millions of dollars to play with Legos in front of a camera. I imagine that would be both a really fun but also really tedious job, because stop motion is not easy at all.
yeah, no, it's definitely not. What else do we got? Also, Store, we got an announcement that there's a new Godzilla movie happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, Variety just reported new Godzilla movie from Godzilla Minus One director has been greenlit by Toho. It says Godzilla is stomping his way back to the big screen. The new Godzilla movie from the director of last year's Oscar-winning Japanese film Godzilla Minus One has officially been greenlit. It says he wrote and directed the surprise film. He will return for the new movie. He's once again also handling the VFX, which also won an Oscar for last year for best visual effects. Also, there's no word as to like if this is a sequel or not. But I would got it's yeah, it says it's unclear if this movie is a direct sequel. However, the film did end on a cliffhanger, so I'm under the assumption that this is going to be a sequel, which I'm really hope happens.
I am too, because not only did it end in a cliffhanger, but I do remember Toho a while ago, though, so obviously things could change. But they did express interest in wanting to kind of create another Godzilla cinematic universe, but more in the style of the MCU.
Mm.
So if that's still their plan, I think that continuing the series after minus one is probably the smart way to go.
Yeah, I think so too. Also in news, the Wayans brothers have reunited for a new scary movie with
Oh.
Miramax and Paramount. I can't remember if we talked about it here, some of the drama that they had behind the scenes, or maybe it's some. I think I remember seeing one of the Wayans brothers on Club Shay Shay or something like that, or Club Shay Room. I can't remember the name of the show, but I think I remember him giving a huge explanation as to like how they helped, like how they really created the first scary movie. and I can't remember if they came back for the second one or not, but that Miramax in them really kind of pushed them out for any of the other scary movies. So they had a pretty tumultuous sort of relationship with the with Miramax and the scary movie franchise after they wind up departing. So the fact that the Wayans brothers are in fact coming back for a new scary movie actually has some people rather excited for it.
I'm definitely open to checking him out because you look at the first scary movie and while obviously it's like it's not dated because it's like offensive or anything like that. It's dated because, oh my gosh, I've seen these jokes done so many times now. So it's just kind of like in that area. So if they're coming back to do another one, I'll definitely check it out. I just hope we get some new material. We're not doing the same it's funny because she could easily use the gun right there, but she instead goes for the banana, like in the opening of the first scary movie. Like, it was funny, but like now it's like, oh, let's see what else you got here. But yeah, no, I enjoyed the first scary movie when it came out. And then, of course, like most sequels, man, it just started to get worse and worse. And then there was a period of time where, and I didn't realize, because I, for some reason, thought like the Wayans brothers were directing all of these movies. And that was not the case. They had like zero involvement in them. But when there was that whole time period where there was the writer strike, and then the only movies we were getting in theaters were the really, really bad parody movies that just like, they would have funny trailers, but then the movies themselves would feel like just such a waste of time. I hated those movies so much. So, hopefully, it doesn't go down that route with the Wayans brothers coming back. So, I look forward to it.
I think I only liked the first one, and then after that I kind of fell off, unfortunately. And then last but not least, I mean, there are some other honorable mentions in here. If you guys want to check out some of the other honorable mentions, check out our Facebook page. They did give some new casting announcements for both Green Lantern along with or the Lantern series along with Supergirl as that cast winds up coming together. They're going to begin production here this upcoming January, so they're moving full steam ahead. But one of the things that I really wanted to talk with you about that I found really interesting this week, Stuart, Variety.com, and let me see if I can pull this up because I want you to read this along with me. They gave us a sort of a bombshell twist from Star Wars The Phantom Menace. I don't know if you happen to have heard of this, but I found it rather interesting. It says George Lucas cut a bombshell Star Wars twist from Phantom Menace. Liam Neeson was going to play the real Obi-Wan Kenobi who died. So let's read this. It says love it or hate it, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace is at least widely beloved for its casting of Ewan McGregor and Obi-Wan. In a recent interview with Star Wars concept and storyboard artist Ian McGeig to mark the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary, reveals that George Lucas was originally planning a bombshell twist for the movie. McGregor's Obi-Wan and Liam Neeson's Qui-Gon were originally swapped, meaning Neeson was playing the real Obi-Wan, and thus the real Obi-Wan died. This is what Ian McCaig says. He says, for a time, the older Jedi was named Obi-Wan, and the younger Jedi was named Qui-Gon. It was very poignant that at the end, as Obi-Wan dies and Qui-Gon defeats Darth Maul and stays with his master as he passes away, he not only takes on his master's quest, but he takes on his name. Qui-Gon becomes Obi-Wan. He says that's why when you see Alec McGuinness in A New Hope, he puts his hood down and goes, Obi-Wan. Now that's a name I've not heard. And he says McCaig's added because he's not Obi-Wan, he's Qui-Gon. And right at the end, George changed it. I always find it fascinating, Stuart, that we're 25 years into this, and this is the first time, bro, I have ever heard of this story. Have you ever heard of this before?
I have not.
I'm just sitting here like, Ian, why are you sitting on this nugget of information all these years, bro? We had 25 years to talk to us about this. Why didn't you let this go? I have to say, I am kind of glad that that's not how it happened.
Same. Because
I can see why George would have not gone with it at the end.
I mean, maybe there would have been other changes into the script that would have clarified like what he was going for, but like I don't know. This entire time, I'm just thinking, what does that add to the story? To me, that just passing
Like
down a
a
quest. It just what does the name add if you're trying to pass down the name too along with your quest? I don't know. It doesn't work for me personally. So I'm glad that George Lucas decided to cut that.
Yeah, it felt like, I mean, thinking about it in hindsight, it does feel like it was a twist just for shock value and maybe not so much to help narrative purposes. Like he's just putting in a twist because he wants to keep people like on their toes. Because I think the New Hope narrative can still works perfectly well the way that the prequel trilogy is set. And so it almost felt like George was trying to surprise the fans forcefully, and then maybe realize, like, from a standpoint, it's just going to add more layers of confusion and doubt than really help kind of push the story forward. So um while at first I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, in hindsight I'm like, I'm kind of glad he didn't do it, because it works so much better the way that it was.
Yeah, agreed.
But I just thought that was fascinating.
It is, yeah, it is cool to like always learn new trivia, especially when it comes to the prequels or even to the original trilogy. If new information comes out about it, it's always cool to like find out about it years later.
Yeah, I never heard about it. Marcelino says the whole Qui-Gon being in a real Obi-Wan was something a lot of people already knew years beforehand. I've never heard the
Really?
story. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never heard
another.
the story. So it's weird that people are treating it as something new. I would like to find some older articles from years gone past to see if this is some information that's been out there before, because I personally have never heard of it before. So yeah, I definitely been keeping my head in the ground for sure then. But
Mhm.
yeah, if you guys knew about this already, let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. All right, Stuart. Other than that, man, you ready to get into these main topics with me?
Always.
Let's go, man. First and foremost, our first topic, as you guys saw at the top of our thumbnail here, we're going to get into some Avengers Doomsday talk, as the Russo brothers are in fact set to return. For the longest time, we have been wondering who was going to do the directing work for some of the Avengers films. We had names kind of going back and forth for quite some time. And lo and behold, the Russo brothers are in fact returning, not just for Doomsday, but also for Secret Wars. So they're going to be tackling two big MCU films. And based off of the Russo brothers' track record with the MCU, everything that they've touched has really sort of turned to gold. And so the big question is, can they do it again? And I think one of the bigger questions is, why would they have wanted to return after certainly all this time? And so, the Russo brothers have sat down and given us this answer. So let's go ahead and break this down, Stuart, and talk a little bit more about this. This comes to us from Total Film's website, gamesradar.com. It says the Avengers Doomsday directors, the Russo brothers, wouldn't have returned to Marvel with Robert Downey Jr. if they couldn't make a sequel on equal footing with Infinity War and Endgame. Now that's some big shoes to certainly fill, to certainly say the least. But these two believe that they can definitely do it. Let's go ahead and break this down, Stuart. This says Avengers Endgame quickly became the highest grossing film of all time when it stormed cinemas in 2019. James Cameron's Avatar has since reclaimed pole position thanks to subsequent re-releases in China. But half a decade on, the fourth Avengers movie is still the most successful superhero film ever made. As the culmination of Marvel's first three phases, Avengers Endgame was a natural jumping off point for many, including Iron Man star Robert Downey Jr., along with co-directors Joe and Anthony Russo. It's in the name after all, yet it turns out Endgame wasn't quite as final as everyone involved as fans once believed. The panel ended by revealing Robert Downey Jr. is making a surprise return, yada, yada, yada. During an interview with Games Radar at MCM Comic Con 2024, the co-director Joe Russo explained how this twist came about organically through the bond he and Anthony shared with Downey Jr. This is what this is what they go on to say. It says, we're all very close, says Joe. We had been working on another project before Marvel approached all of us. So we're working on another project with Robert. And there was a story that evolved through conversation that we got very excited about because it's always got to be the story. The specifics of the story aren't clear just yet, though it's almost certain that the multiverse will play a key role in Downey's return. Whatever happens, though, Joe promises that we can expect something, quote unquote, really explosive when Avengers Doomsday arrives in theaters. He says, why would we come back if we didn't feel come on, where'd it go? Why would we come back if we didn't feel that the story had that possibility of being on equal footing with Infinity War and Endgame, unless there's a kernel there for an idea that's really explosive? Infinity War.
I know why they would come back if it wasn't going to be on par with Endgame. Money.
Although I will say granted, nobody's going to turn down a bunch of money, but I got to think that the Russo brothers are probably doing financially pretty well right now. But yes, money definitely does talk for sure. It says, Infinity War and Endgame will be certainly hard to match, but if anyone can do it, it's the Russo brothers, who previously wrangled over 20 Marvel movies into a fitting conclusion that broke hearts and box office records alike. So yeah, Stuart, look, man, I've been saying this for a while now. I do believe in the Russo brothers. While I personally, and again, I want to clarify, I have not necessarily been the biggest fan of their work outside of the MCU, although there is a Netflix movie that I wanted to go back and rewatch. I think they did a film with, was it Ryan Gosling, The Gray Room? I don't remember the name of it. If you guys remember what their Netflix movie recently was, please let me know your thoughts, what it was, in the comment section box below. I haven't really cared for their stuff outside of it, but the idea of them wanting to return to the MCU gives me hope. One, because I've seen what they're capable of doing. I also will say, I do believe that the writer's strike probably really helped them in the regards of having the opportunity to kind of sit back and figure something out as far as like what the future is certainly going to hold. They do talk about the idea that when they were in the middle of making or working on another movie with Robert Downey, so clearly they have a really great relationship with them. Whether or not this was during the writer strike or the actor strike, that I certainly don't know. I can't remember exactly when the timeline starts for when Kevin Feige and them reached out to them. But I do think the idea of Marvel being able to kind of take a step back, allow themselves the time to change course, sit down and really brainstorm in regards to bringing these two epic films together. I do think that certainly works in their advantage. I do think, especially based off of the trajectory that Marvel Studios has gone, I got to think that the Russo brothers themselves understood the risk of involving themselves again and what people would certainly say if this movie certainly doesn't succeed. And I think the critiques from other people, the outside voices, I think would certainly be strong enough to scare sort of any movie maker away from kind of tackling this huge ensemble cast and, the course correction and things like that. So, when they say things like, that they've managed to find something that's really explosive. We've really thought out this particular, storyline. What does he say exactly? He says, we're all very close. We've been working on yada, yada, yada. He says, why would we come back if we didn't feel we had a story that had a possibility of being on equal footing? And I completely agree with them. I don't think that they would have just come back to the MCU for just any particular reason. I think if they decided to come back, they probably really wanted to leave their mark on the MCU once again. And so when they say things like this, I don't believe that this is just them sort of sniffing their own supply. Like, I really do believe that you've got three great minds sitting around a table, possibly four if you add Kevin Feige in there, to really hammer home a solid storyline in here. Now, I know people are still certainly worried about the return of Robert Downey Jr. I know some people have managed to talk about this, saying like this is just a money grab, that this is certainly desperation. But I've said before, desperation isn't necessarily always a bad thing. Desperation, especially if you find yourself with your back against a wall, can really push you to make great content. And so for me, while I think the Russo brothers have always kept their eye on possibly returning at some point in time, I don't think that they just come back because they want to. I think they come back because they truly have something special. Now, again, whether it's going to be on par with Infinity War and Endgame, that is certainly a really high task. But I think if anybody can do it and put it on equal footing, I do believe these two. I really do. So I probably shouldn't get my hopes too high, but I've seen what they've done with the MCU before. And so in the Russo brothers, I certainly trust Stewart, but that's just my perspective on that. How do you view some of their comments, though?
Yeah, I would say for the most part, yeah, I do believe that they're actually there because they want to be there, not because they're just doing it for money. I know I said that earlier, but that was mostly as like a joke. I do. I think like what happened too is that they may have been done for Marvel for a while when they first left after Avengers Endgame, but I think them wanting to come back makes a lot of sense because they have had an opportunity to create some of their own movies with completely original IPs, new ideas. Some of them worked because I thought Cherry was okay, and I think I never saw the movie. What was it called? 21 Bridges, I want to say. I never saw that one, but I had heard.
With Chadwick, right? Chadwick
Yeah,
Boseman? Yeah.
yeah, that one. But I had heard it was a really good movie. I just hadn't had a chance to see it yet. But they've had some hits and misses, but they've had their opportunity to work on their own work quite more than most directors would, with how many of their own original movies they've been able to do in a row. So it makes sense that after that they'd probably want to come back to the MCU to work on something really huge in scale again. I can see after 10 years missing that kind of having that much money to play with, and then also having like a whole toy box of superheroes that you get to use. Not to mention even being able to reuse Robert Downey Jr. and using him as Dr. Doom. Like you said, I think that bringing Robert Downey Jr. back felt like a desperate move from Marvel, but also like you said, I do agree, desperate isn't always a bad thing. And I think if anyone can make that work, it's definitely the Russo brothers. I think that even if they are bringing him back because Marvel Studios themselves demanded it, not because they thought that it would work for the story, I do think if anyone can work with those studio mandates, it's the Russo brothers. Much like James Gunn, the Russo brothers know how to be creative with studio mandates. They know how to use those mandates in their favor rather than using those mandates as like a obstacle. It's more of a it's more of a would be the opposite of an obstacle, like I don't know. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, though,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I totally agree with you. I do like how you explain the idea of them being able to work within the confines of what a studio is giving them. I've been impressed with not only just their storytelling from whether it be Winter Soldier or Civil War or working on the Infinity and Endgame films. I think for me, when it comes to these big films, you need people that know how to work with big ensemble casts and a lot of sort of moving parts. I do wonder if the idea of them being brothers and being like co-directors and stuff, if that really helps them, right? Because you can have maybe one director, like they probably share the same vision, but then you have one director that can go over to this group of people and explain it, and then the other director go to the other group of people. Like if it's just that big, but everybody's on the same page, so you don't miss out on any levels of like miscommunication between the two. And so I do think that there is a benefit here of having the Russo brothers certainly return, because I do think if anything, we have been able to see how they've been able to take all those previous films from past MCU sagas and blend them into two big culminating sort of moments in here. And so I really do believe in the Russo brothers when they say something like, we really wouldn't have returned if we didn't think that we can make something as equal footing as Infinity War and Endgame. So I'm really looking forward to Doomsday. Like I truly, Doomsday and Secret Wars. I truly cannot wait for either of those. Are you excited for them, Stuart?
I am. I think I'm a little more excited for Secret Wars than Doomsday, but since we're gonna have to wait quite a while for that, I'd look forward to Doomsday when it comes out.
Yeah, man, I can't even imagine like what the storyline of this is really going to be. Like, the return of Robert Downey Jr. definitely surprised me. The return of the Russo brothers surprised me. So I have no idea where Marvel Studios is really going with this story, and that kind of really excites me. I think right now, if you look at the MCU in hindsight, we've got what Captain America 4, you've got Thunderbolts, you've got Fantastic Four, then I believe is Doomsday. Then I think we're getting ourselves a Spider-Man movie right after Doomsday. And then that, if anything, I think will probably lead into Secret Wars. And so I'm just looking at the overall multiverse saga right now, and I'm just like, how do you even wrap this up? I really
Mhm.
don't know. But I think that's why you bring in somebody like the Russo brothers who know how to take bits and pieces of moments from other films that have big narrative implications and manage to kind of wrap it all up. So yeah, I will say this, Stuart. I just hope the Russo brothers have been paying attention to the multiverse
Mhm.
saga and what's going on to really bring this home, man. Because the MCU really needs it to end the multiverse saga on a strong note. And if anything, they may be able to allow us to have even further appreciation for the other films that came out in phase 4 and 5 after seeing how they managed to wrap things up.
I got so annoyed with an article that I saw the headline for because they were purposely trying to be like super misleading with it, but basically saying the title was like Phase 4 characters not coming to Doomsday or Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars. And what they meant, when you actually like kind of look at the article or look at like, what the interviewer was trying to say is that it was specifically the Eternals that we're likely not going to see in Doomsday. But the way the article
Doomsday.
phrased it made it seem like no one from Phase 4 or 5 was going to be in either Avengers movies, and I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
yeah, that's super misleading. So luckily, yeah, I'm excited to see which characters get utilized, and I'm really excited to see the new character chemistry we're going to be getting because we'll have like kind
Mm.
of a good mixture of people that actually had an attachment to Robert Downey Jr.'s version of Iron Man, along with people like Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel, and then, of course, the new Hawkeye, who knew nothing about him before Iron Man. So I can imagine this leading to like kind of some interesting conflict of how to go about it. Like, probably some of the more older, experienced Avengers thinking that they could actually get through to Doctor Doom's humanity, whereas like no one sees, Tony Stark or, the younger Avengers don't see Tony Stark in him. They just see, a madman, with an iron mask. So that's the kind of thing I really just hope they realize how many kind of characters they have, and I really hope they have fun with like that kind of the conflicts that you would have with this much, especially when you have the experienced Avengers and the unexperienced Avengers. How are they going to work together? Is there going to, or how much butting head is there going to be?
Yeah, especially when the dynamics between this cast is going to be really fascinating, and these characters, especially like you said, when you got not only older Avengers, but you've got such a young cast now too, right? Like it's just going to be a bunch of inexperienced Tom Holland Spider-Mans on the team, like
Mhm.
they're them trying to rein Peter Parker in from time to time, and now you've got like 5 or 6 more of them on the team. It's just like how do the older Avengers handle some of the younger Avengers and kind of keep them in line sort of mentality? It should be a make for a really interesting sort of dynamic for sure.
Mhm.
What are you guys saying in here? Let me see. Marcelino says another reason why people don't vibe with Robbie Downey Jr. being Doctor Doom is the lack of Romani representation, similar to how Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were first cast. I mean, who knows? Maybe Robert Downey Jr. got some Romanian blood in him. I have no idea, but I mean, you
And
know,
wait, I thought like doesn't Doctor Doom come from a fictional European country? I didn't know it
was that
was.
Latveria?
Yeah,
Is that where he's from?
I forgot.
I
Hang
can't
on.
remember where he's. I can't
Yeah,
remember where
I
he's
gotta,
from.
because I do know that like, yeah, like that was something that with the previous 2 iterations of Doctor Doom people were complaining about, was that like neither one of them were like European or had like even a European accent. But hang on, let me look up Doctor Doom's.
I mean, I guess the question I would have is, were the other previous Doctor Dooms that we have, were they Romanian? Like the guy from Nip Tuck when he did the first Fantastic Four, or Fantastic Stick, as Stuart mentioned.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm kind of curious if
so you were right. It was from Lativeria, and it
Derry.
is, which of course is not a real place. So yeah, I don't think, yeah, it doesn't have to be Romanian specifically, just a European accent, which I'm pretty sure Robert Downey Jr. could pull off if that's what they want out of him.
And I don't remember the other Doctor Dooms having a European accent.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, they
and I
didn't.
mean that
Yeah,
in the movies. So for me, it doesn't really matter to me. I don't really care.
yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments section box below about the Russo brothers. You think it's even possible to make a superhero movie on the equal footing as Infinity War and Endgame? Because the Russo brothers are gonna go for trying to strike gold once again. We'll see if they are capable of doing it though.
Mhm.
And with
I definitely believe that they can pull it off.
yeah, I believe that they believe it for sure. And with that out of the way, guys, we're going to stick within the MCU, more or less on the Marvel television and Marvel animation side, as this week, Marvel Studios did go ahead and release a 2025 look ahead in regards to what we can expect on Disney Plus, certainly going forward. Stuart, I will say this. We will go ahead and check out this, the first, we'll go ahead and check out the first look also
Mhm.
that we wind up getting from this. But 2025 looks packed.
Yes.
And
Yes, it does.
I thought that they said they were going to be trying to take a step back and having like only but so many releases in here. But maybe Bob Iger was like, "Look, man, we got so much stuff in production right now. We just gotta get this stuff out of the way and release it already, instead of letting some of this stuff sit on the shelf and kind of gather dust." But we got ourselves a huge slate when it comes to the MCU on Disney Plus. So we're going to go ahead and take our first look at it, Stuart. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. Go over to our Facebook page. Again, guys, if you're not following us on Facebook, please go ahead and do so. This is where we post all of our news throughout the week for you guys and keep you up to date in regards to what's going on. I may stop and pause through this as we go through each individual portion, but this is our first look, including some upcoming projects set to go ahead and drop in 2025. Let's get into it, Stuart, shall we?
It's gonna get good.
First off, hold on. Let me make sure this is dropping in the. Okay, cool. So the up first is Daredevil, Born Again.
Mm-hmm. It's been some time, hasn't it? You've come up in the world. I can say the same about you. I wonder if your darker half would agree. Exactly what kind of a lawyer are you? A really good one.
All right, a really good one. Well, it looks like Wilson is running for mayor in here. Or at least that's the assumption that I'm certainly under after checking that one out. Really great action sequences in here too. I'm really looking forward to this season, man. I can't. Did they tackle the mayor thing in season 3 of Daredevil? Was he running for a position? I can't remember now.
No, he was wait, maybe at the very end they teased the idea, but I remember he was basically borderline pardoned because of basically
Was, yeah.
giving up all the information he had on other people and then claiming he was innocent. And the only reason Daredevil was able to stop him at the end was because he basically kind of threatened his wife, saying like, "Hey, your wife will go down with you and you two will never see each other again." But he agreed to go back to prison as long as Daredevil agreed to not throw his wife under the bus so she could live a regular life and all that.
Right.
So they were at kind of a stalemate in a way. So now or I'm wondering if that stalemate is still going on, and if it is, maybe the Kingpin has been able to cover up anything involving his wife. So maybe now he is the one with information on Daredevil, being Matt Murdock secretly, and so he now has a one up on him. But yeah, I have no idea what it's going to lead to, but everything about that teaser got me excited because just the way it's filmed, the way it looks a lot more kind of grounded than you would normally see in the MCU TV shows. The lack of CG, the more the fact that it looks like it's filmed mostly on location is definitely the big thing, because that's something that was incredible about the way the original Daredevil was filmed. You didn't have as much indoor settings as you normally do in like the Marvel project. So it was like a lot of really cool outdoor on location shots, and it just looked incredible. So I absolutely, this is the project I'm the most excited about, I think. And that's just because I love the Netflix Daredevil show.
And Daredevil does drop in March of 2025, just so you guys know. But yeah, I'm a big fan of just the gritty sort of camera work we got so far.
It's been some time, hasn't it? You've come up in the world. I could say the same about you. I wonder if your darker half would agree.
I love this shot when he jumps off the roof.
Exactly what kind of a lawyer are you? A really good one.
It's also interesting. I'm curious how big of a role Kamala's dad plays in this. If he's just in one episode, it's just like he's so just not a character I expected to see.
Yeah, it's so odd. After seeing him in Miss Marvel and just the tone of that, and then placing him in this, like I got to think that there's a bigger implication to having him in here. Like, does Kamala Khan pop up in here in any way, shape, or form? If anything, I mean, her family, if I'm not mistaken, is from Jersey City, so the fact that he's in New York here, like I'm curious as to why people are trying to kill him or certainly attacking him. We did get very brief glimpse of the brand new villain in here, Muse. Muse, Muse. He's a serial killer from the comics. And so he's going to be having some impact in this series also. But yeah, man, the gritty camera work, close quarters fighting sequences, everything that you loved about Daredevil is here. But let's go ahead and move on to Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
This me.
Oh!
Story, can I...
This me.
Oh!
So just so that people know, when it comes to the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, this is sort of like in an alternate universe, right? Like this isn't an origin story from the MCU sort of Spider-Man that we know. I do believe that it is sort of a multiverse sort of story of the new Spider-Man or another Spider-Man, I should certainly say. But and maybe I shouldn't get my opinions from people on Twitter, Stuart, but I had a lot of people really hating on this footage, man. Not really big fans of the artwork or anything like that, but when I watch this, I love the artwork. I truly do.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people haven't been a big fan. What's your take on it, though? How do you like it?
Just from the few seconds I've seen, I don't think I've seen enough to really judge too much, because I think it looks fine, but we're also seeing only like a small like piece of the action of what it's like actually going to look like, so yeah. I'm also like not a huge animation expert, so I don't know what good animation necessarily is supposed to look like all the time. I know when I love animation and it looks good to me, I can point that out. But for here, it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look exciting. So I'm still keeping an open mind with this show.
I am a big fan of sort of the quote unquote Steve Ditko's kind of style. Like when I look at this does remind me of very classic sort of Spider-Man comic books. Kind of come to live, I don't want to say live action, but just come to animation and just a very sort of modern technique. I love the visual of him sort of swinging. I think we're going to have some pretty spectacular CGI effects in here also. I don't know if the movements are as clean, as smooth, I should say, or I don't know if that's just the way that the trailer looks or how it's going to look overall. But I mean, we even get like comic book style panels for this quick shot here. But I personally, I kind of dig it. I clearly would like to see more, but from first impressions, it brings me back to Steve Ditko's Spider-Man, and for me, I think that's one of the reasons why I appreciate the style a little bit more.
I also kind of like how the shell shaded colors reminds me of the MTV Spider-Man show with Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh yeah, I can see that too. For sure. You even have like the CGI buildings in here.
This me.
Oh!
I want to build something undeniable.
Anyone who's ever accomplished anything iconic in life has had to do some questionable things to get it done.
You know, let me just say, Stuart, I am actually a much bigger fan of the look of this costume than or the suit than what we've had previously. I think the upgrade in here has been phenomenal, to certainly say the least. Much better than I think than what we wind up getting in Wakanda Forever. Clearly, I want to see a little bit more. I'm kind of curious if she will go the route of red and yellow in honor of Tony Stark, or if this is going to be her color scheme kind of going forward to separate herself. But just from a visual standpoint, I think the suit looks pretty dope, man.
I think so too. And like I mentioned earlier, the main thing I'm looking forward to about this, I always love a good science versus magic storyline. And given our villain, I think that's exactly what we're going to get here. And yeah, I'm excited to see like more from Riri Williams, like character in this show, and get to like kind of know a little bit more about her.
You know, I'm not too familiar with Riri as far as comic books go. So, you know, I don't know what her origin story was, in the sense of like, did she go down a path of crime in order to get more money to help make this suit? Because that's what it definitely feels like, in the sense that she's kind of at her low. She's been kind of kicked out of school, sort of thing. She winds up bumping into Anthony Ramos's The Hood and maybe joins this gang to go ahead and steal tech and, you know, money or whatever the case may be. I don't know if that's what her storyline was when it comes to the comics. You know, I will say this teaser got me a little bit more excited than the other teasers that I had previously seen for this. Because believe it or not, I am very much on the fence when it comes to Ironheart. You know, she was okay in Wakanda Forever, but just this, I don't know, the way that the story has been presented to me in some of the teasers, I'm just like, I don't know, man. I would agree with you. Like, the idea of tech versus magic is a fascinating one to me. I really hope that the quality of the story is there, because I'm a big fan of Anthony Ramos and I really want to see him succeed as the Hood in here. But storyline wise, I am a little bit concerned, but I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Yeah, and so just so you know, your mic, I think it's your sound is coming from your camera. Yeah, not the mic. And then yeah, like the other thing too is I got worried because of how long this series had been taken for any footage to come out, because this was like announced like even before Wakanda Forever came out, like way before. But now, like, kind of seeing the visual effects, I can see why it took them some time to finally come out. So I'm glad that it doesn't seem like they're rushing it like they had been doing in the past with some of their other projects. But then again, I know it's just a glimpse, so maybe there will be some really bad CG in there too. But at least we know that there's going to be some good CG too.
That's true. This has been in post-production for quite some time now. This series has been wrapped for quite some time. And so, yeah, you're right. Maybe the wait for this will benefit from sort of a CGI perspective, since I know a lot of fans have been concerned about just the quality of special effects lately when it comes to Marvel. So, but yeah, when I look at this trailer, I'm like, damn, this looks pretty good, especially when she winds up sort of punching down into the truck and whatnot, or her flying through into the tunnel and stuff. I mean, visually, it looks it looks pretty stellar. Marcelino does bring something up here. He says, in the comics, Ironheart is extremely disliked because for she was always written terribly, which made her very unlikable. So hopefully she's written better in her adaptation. And if I can be honest, like, I have not had a moment with Riri Williams where I feel like connected, or like of her being a likable character for me, where I feel like, yeah, I can kind of root for her. Like, I don't know if she's going to be as off-putting and rude as like Jessica Jones was for me, because that's one of the reasons why I didn't really care for the show, and not so much Kristen Ritter's performance, but it was really about how I felt about the character itself. And so when I do see these moments of the route that her character is kind of taking and the choices that she's making, I'm like, oh God, like, am I really going to like this character? But like, everybody has their own, unique origin stories in here. And so maybe there's always a lesson to certainly be learned. And maybe she will certainly have one of those moments in here, but I'm still very much on the wait and see with Ironheart, but visually, it does look pretty good. But let's go ahead and continue this.
I
want to build something undeniable.
Anyone who's ever accomplished anything iconic in life has had to do
Yeah,
some
that's
questionable
cool.
things
That looks
to get
great.
it done.
Up for an adventure?
Let's go.
The battle they will sing about for ages.
Damn, we got a zombie war. It looks like a zombie war. First off, I'm glad that they put What If Season 3 and Marvel Zombies
Up for an
together.
adventure?
Also, in the cowboy hat, is that Shang-Chi?
Yeah,
That's so cool. Okay.
yeah, that's Shang-Chi in the cowboy hat. I think that's what it said in the Shang-Chi cowboy. That's
Oh
what it
my
said.
god.
Yeah. I'm trying to make out who's come. This looks like Nick Fury. I'm kind of curious who else might be coming down with him though. I wonder if those are just eight. That looks like
The one on the right looks like a scroll.
ooh, maybe. I think that might be Coulson next to him on the other side to his
Ooh.
left.
I love me some Coulson.
But yeah, I wonder who is that, like a mini Ultron or like an Ant-Man next to him? I'm curious who that is.
Up for an adventure? The battle they will sing
That looks
about.
like a Gundam.
Yeah, right.
That Iron Man suit with the shield.
Who is this? Is this Black Panther? Who is that?
I don't know.
I don't know who that is. Alexei, the battle they will sing about.
Sing about for ages.
Yeah, they also say they're not holding back any punches when it comes to Marvel zombies. That is definitely going to be TVMA. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And they showed off an image when they first announced the zombie spinoff show, and it was Icarus. I think that's his name, the Superman type character from the Eternals. It was him as a zombie.
Yes.
So it's like zombie Superman. Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that, guys. Good luck. And then I think we got one more tease.
You can slate whenever you're ready.
Simon Williams, reading for Wonder Man.
I was born to play this character.
And we both have a lot riding on this. You better not mess this up.
I know.
I am ready.
Hold on. Let me get your perspective on this one, Stuart. Let's play this one more time, though. I definitely want to get your perspective, though.
You can slate whenever you're ready.
Simon Williams, reading for Wonder Man.
I was born to play this character.
And we both have a lot riding on this. You better not mess this up.
I know.
I am ready.
Let's
get the people.
So is this a prequel then to Iron Man 3? Because Steve Trevor isn't in that other dimension from Shang-Chi. And he's not in prison either. So that makes me kind of think, okay, so this would probably take place before Iron Man 3, because I feel like if he was like out in the open like that, he would probably be arrested like immediately. Like I feel like he'd be a wanted man, like because he hasn't finished his time in prison. So I'm kind of curious how he fits into this story. Like it makes sense because he is an actor, so it makes sense that a character playing an actor would also, run into another actor in the MCU. I really do like Yahya Abdul from everything I've seen him in, so I'm really excited to see him now as part of the MCU. I am very curious though, because I actually know nothing at all about Wonder Man, so this will be my personal introduction to the character. So I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, I am. I'm really fascinated by this series in the sense of like I have no idea what this is really gonna be, because I don't believe Wonder Man in the comic books. He was an actor and a stunt man, if I'm not mistaken, in the comic books. But he starts off as sort of like a bad guy in the comics before he eventually becomes a hero. So I am curious as to how they're really going to make this work. He seems like he's a normal guy. Like he doesn't have any sort of abilities. He's just like an actor, certainly trying to make it. There is a part of me that does wonder if this does take place after Shang-Chi. Like I if I'm not mistaken, I think Destin Daniel Cretton, who did Shang-Chi, is also doing Wonder Man.
Okay.
I don't know if he's the showrunner, if he's the writer, but I know he's got some involvement in here. So it does make me wonder if this takes place after. Like, can Trevor kind of come in and out of the dimension whenever he certainly wants to? Or yeah, maybe it is sort of like a prequel series. But if anything, he seems like he's a normal guy. Simon Williams seems like he's a normal guy. So I wonder if it's a case of, does he turn out to be does he get special abilities at some point in time, or is this going to be like the Fall Guy, where he's just a stunt man, but he's so good at being a stunt man that he can literally take care of himself, but he's just a normal person? Like, I wonder if he takes any attributes from Trevor in the sense of lying about who you really are, and you make it up sort of as you go because you are an actor and a stunt man, and you can kind of weave your way into that world. Like, like almost like a imposter syndrome, I guess, to a certain extent. Like, I do wonder if it's a little bit of that when it comes to Wonder Man.
You know what I kind of want from this show, honestly? Again, I'm sure if someone read the Wonder Man comic books, they would probably be like, shut the hell up. But I kind of want this to actually just have no superheroes in it, actually have the story be that he's just an actor trying to get this role, but then maybe there's some corruption behind the production, and then that's what leads to the conflict, but there's no superhero involvement. It all just happens to take place in the MCU, and they're making a movie about superheroes in a world where superheroes exist, and that's what the joke is. There's no actual superheroes in it unless you do a Peacemaker type cameo where they appear at the end after the action's already done. That's the direction I want them to go in.
That would be bold for sure.
Yeah. And the other thing too, just because like I feel like it might be too on the nose, because even Marvel tends to be a little more subtle than this. But I would be very curious if they had kind of a thing of him auditioning for the role. But of course, as like it gets announced that he might get it, you get like internet backlash from people because maybe Wonder Man is based on a comic book in the Marvel universe. And so people are like, Wonder Man wasn't black in the comic books. He can't be Wonder Man. So I'm curious if they would do something like that within the show itself. It's not because I'm tired of superhero shows. You know me, I love superheroes, but I just like, if you're going like this kind of direction, I think you should commit to the bit and like actually commit to like not having any superheroes in this. I think this would be kind of brilliant. A superhero show about superheroes in a world where superheroes exist, but there's no superheroes in this show.
Yeah, I do love that idea of that would be bold, man. That would be bold. I would not be mad at Marvel for trying to pull off something like that, but I'm sure, like you said, Wonder Man fans would probably be pretty upset. But look, if you are a big Wonder Man fan, or you know a lot about him from the comics, I definitely would love to know your guys' perspective on what you saw first time out, and if you have any sort of speculation as to what they could be going for. But let's wrap this up. I think we got like 30 seconds left here.
I was born to play this character.
And we both have a lot riding on this. You better not mess this up.
I know.
I am ready.
That's pretty cool
Let's give the
animation.
people what they came for. Let's go. Let's go.
We have a long road ahead of us. Much to do.
Oh my God!
Hold on, let me bring that back here. So November 12th, we got November 12th, Deadpool and Wolverine drop on Disney Plus. December 22nd, they said What If. December 22nd is What If this year. So we're getting more. Wow, that's crazy to me that they're dropping that so late.
Ooh. Okay. I just thought of a theory. So
And this is the last season too, mind you.
Yes. So recently, Ryan Reynolds posted that he got to suit up for Deadpool for something secret. We don't know what it is. But the rumor at first was that they might be doing another holiday special for Deadpool, like they did with Once Upon a Deadpool. So like a PG-13 cut of Deadpool and Wolverine. But what if, Marvel, what if the reason he dressed up is because he's going to be reading one of the What If episodes as if it's like a Christmas story.
That'd be dope.
It's like the one live action segment of What If, but then it cuts to like animation afterwards.
That would be pretty dope. That would be pretty dope. I am curious as to how this What If is certainly going to end, with this being the last season too. I think they've done a really great job of not only having their own sort of great all around story that they wrap up at each season, but also giving us glimpses into other multiversal stories that they can finish off in one episode or here and there. I gotta think that there are some ramifications of what happens in What If that will pop up in some sort of live action iteration at some point in time. We got Captain Carter out of this too in Doctor Strange. Even the evil Doctor Strange too, I think, makes an appearance from What If season 1 in Multiverse of Madness. So I do wonder if season 3's conclusion will maybe lead or bleed into a bigger connection to the overall MCU multiverse saga. So we'll see. But that's what we're getting this year. And then next year,
Oh my God!
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, January 29th. Daredevil Born Again, March 4th. Ironheart, June 24th. Eyes of Wakanda in August. Marvel Zombies, October 25th. And then December next year, Wonder Man. So how many titles is that? 5? 5 titles?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I thought they said they were sticking to like 2 to 4, but they're like, just put all 5 of them in there. How many movies do we have next year? We got Captain America, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
And I think Doomsday is 2026. So yeah, 3 movies and 5 television series. That's 8 projects overall. That still seems like a lot to me, Stuart.
Marvel can't help themselves. They're like,
can't.
okay, we slowed down for an entire year, giving you only a couple of projects, a movie, and then a couple other TV shows. Now we're really gonna go all out this year.
Yeah,
it's like in 2020 we got nothing from Marvel in 2020 because of the pandemic, obviously, and then 2021 we had like 4 movies, 4 TV shows in the same year.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a lot. So I'm just hoping that they've taken this time for them to certainly work on the quality, putting this kind of all together. But there's definitely a couple projects in here I'm certainly looking forward to and kind of fascinated in. I am looking forward to Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I've been wanting another Spider-Man animated series in some capacity. The Daredevil, I think, is my highly anticipated project for sure. Eyes of Wakanda, from just the brief animation style, it feels more cell shaded than anything that I had seen previously. So I think that's going to be a small limited series also. But yeah, they got a couple projects I'm kind of looking forward to, but I think Daredevil for me is the most anticipated one for sure.
Definitely same here. But yeah, I'm excited for pretty much everything. For Eyes of Wakanda, did they mention the timeline for that? Because I assume it's like a prequel, like, years in the past.
Yeah, they said they were going to be following like several different Black Panthers from different time periods. So it might be. It feels sort of like, I don't want to say an anthology kind of series, but I am curious how they make it weave all together storyline wise, and if that even leads into a bigger Black Panther 3 movie at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Blossom says tech versus magic. It's a never-ending war, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He says, thinking about it now, magic and technology does require hard work and study. That's what they both have in common. But magic requires traditional study, while technology is constantly changing. Is what I'm saying make any sense, or is it just me? No, it makes sense. No, it makes absolute sense. Marceline also says Riri Williams is a bit of a narcissist. They have dialed it back a little recently, but it did a lot of damage. So repairing her character will take a long time. Yeah, I could definitely tell the narcissist, or at least like the big ego that she definitely has from herself, But if anything, I would just say also, based off of maybe what her upbringing might have been like, I think you have to have a big belief and confidence in yourself. So I can see though how something like that would certainly rub people the wrong way to the point of like a narcissism,
I will also say this. Now, I haven't read the comic book, so maybe the way she's a narcissist is very different. But it's kind of hypocritical if you dislike if you dislike her for being a narcissist, but then you're like, but Tony Stark is great. It's like, what? but obviously I haven't read the comics, so for all I know, it's like it might be the way she's a narcissist is like different. But yeah, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know either. But let us know, guys. What do you think about the first look for 2025 and all the grandiose stuff that we're going to be getting? Marvel Studios definitely is not slowing down when it comes to 2025. Maybe what they meant was 2026 and later, Stuart. But for right now, it seems like we're getting ourselves like 8 projects next year. So let us know your thoughts. Out of this first look, what stands out to you the most? What are you certainly looking forward to? What do you have questions about? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below.
I am going to be right back. You can go ahead and start the next part with me because I've already seen the trailer for it, so I'll be able to talk to you about it once I get back.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Cool.
Next up, in fact, while you do that, I got to see if I can find the trailer for this next project we're going to be talking about, as we're going to go from the MCU to another franchise that me and Stuart are really big fans of, and that is in fact Star Wars, baby. That's right, Star Wars is in fact back. This week we wind up getting ourselves a brand new poster for the upcoming series Skeleton Crew. I absolutely love this poster, by the way. I get such Amblin vibes. Like, this just feels to me like a poster that I could, like a VHS sort of box art cover that I could find at like a video store or something like that from back in the days. I'm actually a really big fan of this poster. But Skeleton Crew, the new series, is set to go ahead and drop December 3rd. We will be reviewing Skeleton Crew for you guys here on the channel, very similar to what we did with The Acolyte. It's going to be myself, it's going to be Stuart. I believe Will Polk also mentioned the idea that he was going to be joining us for the reviews. And I believe, as long as her schedule permits, Crystal Kyber will in fact be back. So we will have our own Star Wars Jedi Council for you guys here to go ahead and talk more Star Wars. As if you want, by the way, Crystal Kyber over on her YouTube channel, she actually did just go ahead and drop her reaction to that we wind up this week as well. So if you want to go ahead and check out Crystal Kyber, again, she did go ahead and post her own reaction video. I did go ahead and put up a review for the official trailer as well. And I do believe also, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Empire Magazine this week also went ahead and released some brand new photos for us to certainly enjoy as well, getting us the opportunity to go ahead and see Jude Law's character in Jod, if I'm not mistaken. We also got a new image of Neil here, some great glimpses of just the special effects and the different planets, and incredible just visuals that we're going to be getting from here also, along with a couple of kids on their speeder bikes. That looks like Wim's father, sort of in the middle there too. So I'm not quite sure exactly when this takes place in the series itself. But yeah, we got new images, a new trailer, along with a new poster. So it certainly has been a busy week when it comes to Star Wars Skeleton Crew. If you guys have not had the opportunity to check out the brand new trailer, let's go ahead and check this out for ourselves, shall we? Hold on. First off, I want to make sure that I keep the audio on for this. I don't know if I kept it. Let me start this over again for you guys.
What are you in for? What are you in for?
You know, that brief moment felt very like Breakfast Clubby to me. I think I'm really going to be a big fan of the Fern character. She seems like such a maverick. Just the smirk, you know, the look that she gives Wim. She looks like she's going to be sort of the daredevil of the group, to certainly say the least.
I found something buried in the woods. Dad.
This is unacceptable. Do you understand?
What do you think it is? Don't touch anything.
I love that they say, "Don't touch anything," and he immediately pushes the button. And it's like, bro, they literally told you not to touch anything,
And the opposite happens.
and the opposite happens.
What did you do? We're lost. Really lost. Stay together. We just need some directions home.
Come on, kid. Pay up. Whoa. Where'd you two find an old Republic credit? Over here, quick. I'll get you home. We'll make a partnership. But we have to move fast.
You know, Stuart, I gotta say, the moment he said, "I'll help you get home, let's have a partnership," I'm like, I immediately don't trust this dude. Like, I mean, like the way that I don't know, just the way that he said it. There's just something about this character I just don't trust already.
He probably like recognizes something familiar about the Republican or the Republic credits and like the vessel itself. And yeah, I assume because this is a Jedi or a guy with Jedi powers outside the Jedi Order who just happens to be alive during this time period. I'm kind of with you. I think he might have his own selfish motivations as well.
Over here, quick. I'll get you home. We'll make a partnership. But we have to move fast. I need you to take the controls.
Okay. Neil? Neil?
A crew of murderous pirates is coming. Something's wrong.
They're not going to just turn up.
You know, two things. That song, Stuart, is that like a classic 80s song, but like in a Star Wars language?
It is indeed.
Wow, I was like, that hits so hard though. Like I was like, why does this sound so familiar? And then he starts singing. I'm like, I don't know what he's saying, but I would assume that they're translating it through a Star Wars language. That's pretty trippy to me.
It is.
And then secondly, I didn't pick up on this real quick, but just the subtleness of like the father talking about we have to find them, but then seeing the way that the robot looks at him and then he turns his head.
Something's wrong.
They're not going to just turn up.
Like almost like he's doing something he shouldn't be. Like I wonder if he's going through a database. I'm wondering if he's like trying to find his kids, but maybe there's some people that don't want him searching for them or the ship that he might have taken. Like, I don't know. This just seems like there's something pushing back again. Like it seems like they have to do this kind of in secret to save their kids.
I wonder if there's some like small conspiracy and the story somehow ties into the very beginning of the First Order.
Maybe, and if anything, also the idea of the Old Republic credits being in here, I find fascinating. Let's finish the trailer, but I find it fascinating here.
We need to find them.
We're not alone down here.
Oh, be warned of booby traps. Pirates and mountains where none dare to go.
If you hear this, don't give up. No matter what.
So we're getting a 2-episode premiere on December 3rd. 2-episode premiere on December 3rd. So a couple things, Stu. Yeah, the idea of the credits fascinates me because the guy on the planet, granted, you know, they could be like in the outermost rim and like people are just not aware of the planet that they certainly come from. But the idea that they're still utilizing Old Republic credits when the rest of the universe clearly isn't. And then it does make me question or have questions about the planet that these kids come from. They're all suburbia, you know, planet sort of thing, right? Very clean, feels very isolated from perhaps the rest of the universe. And then you add that with the idea that the father seems to be trying to find his kids maybe against the will, or he seems like he's trying to be very secretive about the idea that we need to find it. When you say something about conspiracy, I think there's something going on with the planet that these kids are from, like for sure.
There's so many like possibilities because of what we know is already set up at this time period that it could lead to. And another one, totally forgot the character's name, but the main character from Star Wars Resistance, how his dad, who was in Ahsoka, he had that position where he was completely neutral during the Galactic War. And then the moment the war was over, he profited and then somehow was able to, scheme his way into the New Republic Council. So I'm wondering if that's the world that the dad comes from, is this world, and that's why there's like a lot of like things that that like that kind of world wouldn't want people to look into. But yeah, you're totally right though, because there's clearly like something going on with this planet that the kids are from, and I think that's actually kind of the most intriguing thing for me is because it doesn't look like a traditional Star Wars planet. Like in fact, like when we see that kind of suburban neighborhood, it looks more like that planet from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that they visited, because it's similar to Earth, but a little sci-fi-esque. I am really curious to learn more about this world. The other thing too that gets me so excited is that this just looks like a fun adventure that just happens to be set in the world of Star Wars. I like that we're not trying, it doesn't look like they're trying to have any big galactic ending stakes. It's just some kids trying to get home, and then in doing so, they get into their own Goonies, Indiana Jones adventure.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the adventure aspect of this for sure. And even them coming upon what seems to be like some sort of treasure vault or whatever the case may be. I do wonder if this is Sith related in any way, shape, or form. Just from some of the designs that we've seen, we did get an image that was released earlier this week too of Jod looking at some inscriptions along a wall, which I believe, I can't remember what article this might have been from, or if it was StarWars.com that hinted at the idea that this is an old Sith language that is no longer kind of spoken. And so I do wonder if this discovery here eventually leads to them being in this vault or not. I mean, they'll definitely have to go through booby traps as we've seen in this trailer. So I do wonder if there's any Sith connection in here at all.
If it is, I hope they're smart and they get the hell out of there. If there's anything I've learned from the Darth Vader comic books, don't mess with Sith artifacts.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, man, cool first trailer. Cool. Well, this is the second trailer technically that we've gotten. We had a teaser, and then this is the first official trailer. But I'm kind of looking forward to this, Stuart. We get a 2-episode premiere on December 3rd. Are you ready to review it with me, man?
Definitely, dude. This is the kind of I can't say for sure because we haven't seen it yet, but just from the trailers, man, this is the kind of show I would have loved to have had as a kid. If I was like the same age as like the main characters in this show, this would have been like my go-to Star Wars for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Let's see here. I also want to bring up this article from StarWars.com. They went ahead and talked with John Watts too. It's a pretty long article. We won't go through all of it, but it says with Star Wars skeleton crew, John Watts and Christopher Ford are ready for their own pirate adventure. It says recently Watts and Ford sat down with StarWars.com ahead of the new trailer for the series to talk about finding Fern, Wim, KB, and Neil, what makes Jude Law the perfect Jod Na would, and why everyone has their own Nick Frost impression thanks to a new peg leg droid SM-33. So it says cast the crew. It says the series centers around two pair of best friends, Wim and Neil, and Fern and KB. Okay, so they're both best friends here. So Wim and Neil are best friends, and that would make sense because I think every time that we've kind of seen them together, KB has been with Fern most of the time. There's also a there's also a teak and many other nods to various Star Wars storytelling throughout the years, Watson Ford confirms. And no, Neil isn't the same species as Max Rebo. For Wim, playing by Ravi Cabot Conyers, it was essential to find a star who would bring the same wide-eyed wonder to the role that his character experiences during his first steps into a larger galaxy. Wim is like a total star a starry-eyed dreamer who just rushes into any situation before he's thought about it for 1 second. And that's where Ravi is like, and that's what Ravi is like. John Watts says with a laugh. He gets so excited, and that's Wim. So he was perfect. And that makes sense to me, because I feel like anytime that we've seen Wim, he's had his head sort of in his computer screen, in video games. But you get him outside, and he just seems like he's a big adventurer, like he's ready to just get into any sort of level of mischief. It says to find Fern, played by Ryan Kira Armstrong, Watson Ford were looking for an actor who can embody a certain duality, not unlike Leo Organa. Ryan is Fern, Watts says. We wanted a kid that was really smart and could play the good, sweet daughter of someone in the government, but also be a tough rebel trying to stand up to bullies. Ryan has that intelligence and duality. She's a great actor and very thoughtful about her choices. Interesting. One of the things I always say, Stuart, is like, I do wonder sometimes when it comes to, kid actors, but I love the praise that John Watts gives her in here. The fact that he says specifically she's very thoughtful with her choices, in the sense of like she can read dialogue, and she can have an approach to that dialogue that maybe even John Watts himself first officially like vision, but she sort of made that moment and that dialogue her own at that time, to the point of like really showcasing just her flexibility and her talent as an actor. Like that kind of, I don't want to say surprises me, but that definitely does give me some hope for good performances here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think that throughout the years, child actors have actually just gotten like better and better. So like it used to be something that I'd always be concerned about if like you had a cast of really young kids playing characters, but it's something I've come to worry about less and less over time. So yeah, I think that especially from what we've seen in the trailer, I think they'll do just fine.
Yeah, I know I was kind of critical on the kid actors from The Acolyte and stuff. Again, I don't know who the casting director is or whatever the case may be, but I do feel like, especially with John Watts' ability to have worked with teenagers for like that high school time period for Spider-Man, that I do think that he really knows how to pick them. And then them having work opposite Jude Law, I think probably only helps them out even that much more. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how these kids perform. It also says, like all the actors, Fern's best friend KB, played by Kiriana Crater, was a little different in early drafts, but once the showrunner saw Crater's portrayal, it cemented elements of KB's intellect. I remember when we saw Kiriana's audition for KB, and she was just a strangely quiet and thoughtful, Ford says. It was a very specific choice. And Robert Timothy Smith, Wim's overall wearing best friend named Neil, brought some of the character's overt humor through his performance. Robert was a total wild card. We initially thought of Neil as this sweet, shy little blue elephant-like alien, but Robert always came at it as this other oblique angel. He's a comedian. He's always telling jokes and doing bits, and it's always really sweet. He's just trying to get a rise out of you or a laugh. And that allowed us to try some different, funnier performance options to let Neil be a little bit more neurotic and unique. Since the role is a combination of facial motion capture and suit performer and animatronic puppeteer head, Smith's ad-libbing would add layers for choreography for the entire crew, bringing Neil to life. Robert had all these gestures and physicality that you would never expect, John Watts said. I think Neil is like my most anticipated character now. After hearing that, the fact that it's not only facial motion capture, but also a suit performer and an animatronic puppeteered head, that sounds incredible. And the fact that somebody like Robert had the opportunity and the wherewithal to be able to like put his own physicality and leave his own mark on the character, I think that speaks wonders. But the way that they talk about him, for some reason, he kind of reminds me of the kid from Stranger Things, the curly haired kid. Damn it, why am I drawing a blank on his name right now? Do you know who I'm talking about, Stuart?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
things
I forgot
cast
literally
Dustin.
Dustin, that's it.
Gaten Matarazzo, who plays Dustin in Stranger Things. That's the vibes that I get from Robert, in the sense of like sweet kid, but like has a natural humor to him. You know what I mean? Like that feels like a Dustin to me.
Yeah. It occurred to me that I actually forgot literally all of their names except for 11.
It also talks a little bit about Jude Law. It says the series lead, a mysterious character named Jadnan Wood, ultimately went to Academy Award nominee Jude Law. Before we met him, we wanted to cast him, Ford admits. We wanted that sense of roguishness and that feeling that he's a leading man that happens to get stuck with these kids. Luckily, Law was all in. I remember the first time we got on the phone with him, and he was so excited to delve into the character and make him so nuanced and real. He had so many ideas, and that's when we learned that he's a giant Star Wars fan, which is a gift. Law was game for new acting challenges with an array of puppet creatures, aliens, and droids as scene partners. Jude going toe-to-toe with a tiny little hand puppet really brings out a different kind of performance. Yeah, I can imagine. And then rounding out the cast is Nick Frost, voicing the new droid SM-33 alongside co-stars Kerry Condon. He says, we pre-recorded a lot of Nick's dialogue so that on set, the droid would be speaking with his voice. Oh, that's cool. That's smart of them. Watts says that was really helpful for the other actors because Nick has such great and specific comedic timing that it helped everyone understand the tone and the vibe of SM-33. In the style of other droids who have come in before, SM-33 has a personality of his own, injecting humor and levity into the perilous adventure ahead. But on set, when new lines were added, each director would take a turn doing their own best SM-33 impression, the filmmakers added with a laugh. So I do wonder if how that's usually done, in the sense of like when it comes to some of the droids, is pre-recording the voice actor ahead of time something that they do? Because like when he says like when they had to add new dialogue, the directors and stuff would just speak the lines. That's kind of how I always envisioned it, is that you had somebody on behind the camera that would speak the lines so that the actors and them would, know when to move on with their dialogue or how to react. So I don't know if that's how they normally do it or not, but I think it's pretty brilliant to have him record the lines first and then be able to hit some of the actors with that in order for them to still be in character. And like he said, figure out the tone of that particular moment. I think that's really smart to get the best out of your performers.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they usually do it like that, but I know that, yeah, with motion capture, it's usually the person who's in the motion capture suit, or same with, if they're in a regular suit, they're usually one speaking the lines, and then it gets dubbed over in post. So yeah, I guess they just wanted to try something different though, to make sure. I'm not sure if it was for flexibility purposes or so the actors working with the android would know exactly what kind of tone to take with it. But yeah, that's interesting though.
And let's see here, a new entry into the galaxy. Maybe we'll end off on this last couple of paragraphs. As for the series tone, in addition to the emblem films from their own formative years, Watts and Ford had imbued their story with the thrills of Predator and the serious beats of Empire of the Sun and Flight of the Navigator. From the start, the filmmakers were encouraged to find their own unique perspective and story, then use the Star Wars galaxy as the lens to view it through, they say. It was an instinct we had from the beginning, Ford says. Then later, talking to executive producers John and Dave about the way to approach trying to write in Star Wars, they advised we tapped into something that you love. You can't just do Star Wars, because then you're kind of aping it. You're trying to do what George Lucas did, and he was trying to make Flash Gordon or a Kurosawa movie. He says, it was fascinating talking to Dave about his conversations with George and his original Star Wars influence. That really helped open our minds about the right way to approach the universe and figure out if something feels correct or not. To prepare, the creators revisited their favorite adventure stories as well as Lucas's own influences. We went back and watched a bunch of pirate serials and classic pirate films from the 20s and 30s. An element of juxtaposition to the serene suburbia seen in the first trailer. It was important to create that tension, showing that the galaxy is scary and dangerous, and that the galaxy is also peaceful and boring. And although Skeleton Crew is filled with homages to other kid-centric adventures and nods to deeper corners of Star Wars storytelling, set during the era of the New Republic, where Ahsoka and the Mandalorian is, you don't have to be a fan to enjoy the ride. What's great is you don't have to know anything. Yeah, I want people to be excited and to have fun. That was John's approach with Spider-Man. It's fun to swing on webs. There's lots of dramas and pathos too, but like, let's have fun with it, agrees Ford before joking. You don't need to know about Star Wars except the deep, deep knowledge of whether Artolans have arms or not. The Max Rebo debate continues, but one thing's for sure: Neil is a species all of his own, and we can't wait to meet him and the rest of the crew. How do you like their approach to how they came up with this series, Stuart? Because it looks like, I mean, the fact that they say they have imbued their story with the thrills of Predator and the serious beats of Empire of the Sun and the Flight of the Navigator, that's some really great like sinking your claws in sort of thing, you know?
Man, I haven't seen Flight of the Navigator since I was like,
It's been a minute, right?
yeah, it's been so long, but now I kind of want to rewatch that movie. Yeah, no, I think that's a very smart way to get some creative ideas. I like they mention old school serials too, which
Yeah,
I
like
think is kind of
pirate
brilliant
serials and
because
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, because that's like that those are the kind of things, because they're so cheaply made, they kind of require you to use your imagination like you're a kid watching it. So I think that's kind of a cool way. Like, if you're really going to make a show that revolves around children, to kind of get into that mindset of what kind of adventure would be fun for that target audience. So yeah, I think that's a very unique process, a very interesting one that they took for writing it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, man. Everything I'm hearing so far seems like this is a very smart and well written series, and so I'm all on board, man. I'm all on board. But guys, at the end of the day, we want to know your thoughts. What do you think about Skeleton Crew now that you've had the opportunity to see the official trailer? Hear John Watts and Christopher Ford talk about this series a little bit more, characters, what influenced them. I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, Stuart, let's move on to another series that's set to go ahead and drop later on. I don't even know if this is this year or sometime next year. We'll find out. But one series that I am also looking forward to, especially coming off of It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, is the return to Derry. We got ourselves a brand new first look at the upcoming Welcome to Derry. Is it Derry? Derry? I don't even know. Series set to go ahead and drop, I would assume, on HBO Max. At some point in time, but we did get ourselves some brand new first look images along with a glimpse into this series. I was a big fan of It Chapter 1. It Chapter 2 felt like it might have jumped the shark a little bit for me personally, but then again, I've never read the novel, the Stephen King novel, so I'm not quite sure how accurate or what it was or whatever the case might have been, but I still really enjoyed both of them, to certainly say the least, as a two-parter. It is a world that I've always wanted to revisit, especially after Chapter 2. I thought did a really fantastic job of expanding the lore a little bit more, taking us back to previous sort of different periods and different time periods for that particular town, to see just how far back the Pennywise sort of lore really goes. So there's an element to Welcome to Derry that I am really fascinated in, because I always have felt that there's plenty more stories to certainly be told here, and it seems like that's exactly what we're going to get, Stuart. So let's go ahead and dive into this article. This one comes to us from Entertainment Weekly, and we also have a couple of images that we'll show you along the way. But Entertainment Weekly says, It Welcome to Derry exclusive first look confirms the black spot and other horrors of Derry history. Andy and Barbara Muschietti, the filmmakers behind the It movies, tell EW how the HBO horror drama is inspired by Mike Hanlon's interludes in Stephen King's novel. That's fascinating. Let's see how this all kind of comes together for them, shall we? Let me pull up this banner here real quick. And we did get some brand new images too. Let me go ahead and pull up the first one as we talk a little bit more about it. Did my thing freeze on me? Hold on a second.
It's working on our end.
Yeah, for some reason the Entertainment Weekly article is not pulling up. Here we go. Let me refresh this. Okay. There we go. It says, in the second interlude of Stephen King's behemoth horror classic It, adult Mike Hanlon's visits his cancer-stricken father in the hospital. Will Hanlon begins to weave a tale, one that he long kept from his son's ears. He begins his story decades earlier with his service in the Air Force at a nearby Army base. Will and his comrades opened the Black Spot, a nightclub and watering hole that catered to Black patrons. One horrific night, members of the Maine Legion of White Decency, a radicalized white supremacist group, swarmed the venue and burned it down, killing numerous people trapped inside. Mike discovers this event to be an early sighting of It, the shape-shifting kid-devouring entity that now torments his childhood friends of the Losers Club. While typically choosing the guise of a creepy clown Pennywise, It appeared before Will in the form of a giant bird to snatch a victim in its talons amid the chaos around the burning Black Spot. This is part of me, Stuart, that makes me now want to have read this book, honestly. It says, this is just one story that Mike unearths as he attempts to track the It entity's years-long reign of terror in Derry, presented in King's novel through the character's research. Collectively, these interludes interspersed between the main storyline of Pennywise and the Losers Club became the inspiration for It, Welcome to Derry, as seen in Entertainment Weekly's exclusive first look at the 9-episode prequel to It and It Chapter 2. That's an interesting choice. What do you think so far, Stu? Is this thing going on?
Yeah, that's so like I've never read the novel, but the premise of when this takes place and the kind of story that they're tackling, which was kind of hinted at, if I remember correctly, in the first part of the It movie. If I remember correctly, one of the kids has like kind of a vision of like that exact incident, like when Pennywise is like haunting all of them, trying to show them like their deeper fears. So sounds like kind of an intriguing place to pick up the story. Definitely.
This is a book we have we love a lot, and we felt that there was still a lot of story to be covered, said Andy Muschietti. It says, it's so rich with characters and events. We thought we would do justice to the book and the fans by going back into this world. Specifically, we are telling the stories of the interludes, writings by Mike Hanlon based on his investigation that includes interviews he conducts with the older people in the town. In Welcome to Derry, we touch on the usual themes that we're talking about in the movie: friendship, loss, the power of a unified belief. But this story focuses also on the use of fear as a weapon, which is one of the things that is also relevant to our times. Ain't that the fucking truth, man? It also goes on to say the Muschietti duo who developed the series with Chapter 2 scribe Jason Fuchs shifted the timeline of their It movies a few decades earlier than the setting from the King's book. So Welcome to Derry follows suit. The main storyline plays out in 1962, which is the year that the Black Spot burned down, while the book places that particular tragedy in the 1930s. That means we're 27 years before the events of the filmmaker's first It movie. So they're changing the time periods in which this kind of takes place in. 27 years is the dormant period of Pennywise. The Muschietti's right. It's a different part of American history with a new set of fears for children as well as adults, having in mind the cost of the Cold War. Our baseline is 1962, but we do have a few jumps to the past. Every 27 years when it appears, its cycle is marked by two catastrophic events, one at the beginning and one at the end. So we're using the black spot as an event in which many stories are built around. I kind of like and appreciate their take on utilizing a different time period and like the different historical markers that might cause some level of fear within kids. Clearly that would have been completely different from the 30s than what it is in the 1960s. But I do love that they tap into that.
I always think, like, whenever it comes to like kids growing up during the Cold War, I always think of that line from Justice League, the animated series with Jon Stewart's Green Lantern. It's basically like this alternate universe version of him, but he talks about like how when he grew up as a kid, it's like, I grew up waking up every day thinking that the world could end like at any moment, and that was just like my life as a child.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So yeah, definitely different fears for Pennywise to certainly feed off of. It also says it Welcome to Derry will premiere on HBO. It stream on Max in 2025. Andy actually directs 4 out of the 9 episodes. I didn't know that. Including the premiere. Though King fans have a bit of a weight on their hands, the filmmakers aren't ready to reveal all their tricks just yet. We will explore the origins of Pennywise, but like in the book, we'll do it with a healthy dose of crypticism. So yeah, they're definitely not going to just hand feed us all the information. But I do like the choice of the 60s in here personally. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so I think for me overall, like I'm not hyped for it, but you know, I'm intrigued. I'll definitely check it out when it comes out, and that's just because, like, for me, with when it came to the It movies, the most recent ones, I really liked the first part, but I thought the second one was kind of mediocre overall. So for this, I'm just kind of like I don't want to get my hopes up, but I am intrigued. I will definitely at least check out the premiere, and if it hooks me, I will definitely check out the rest of the series.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good lore and world building. I do find it kind of fascinating in the sense of like, there are times, Stuart, where I feel like they could have easily have taken the It book and then just made their own stories, just to like build upon the world their own and tell like their own stories, not related to anything Stephen King novel related. But the idea of utilizing interludes from the book that highlight different time periods for me is really fascinating. After seeing It Chapter 2, I was that much more intrigued to see like the world before. And so for me, I think this is a series that I'm really, really looking forward to. It seems like they are really approaching this in a very smart way, still staying true to Stephen King's novel and not so much creating something of their own to kind of add to it. The fact that they're staying within the Stephen King lore and managing to take these interludes and somehow form a limited series out of it, I think is just really brilliant storytelling. And we said this before too, like the idea of having to adapt work, I think, is always more difficult than something original. And to be able to take like intersparsing like interludes that I didn't read the novel itself, so I don't know exactly how well those interludes weave and kind of connect together. But to have that type of mind and writing skill to be able to take those interludes and make a series out of it and still allow it to make sense. I mean, granted, look, we'll have to see how the series itself turns out, but adapting interludes into a 9-part limited series probably could not have been easy. But as somebody that appreciates world building and lore, I'm really pumped for this. I really am. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. What you guys think of this upcoming series. Marcel says, I hope that they address the fact of Black people in the 60s. I see so many TV shows where they show the past, but they diversify and treat it as normal. Look, I will say, I will say I would agree with that. I think that's, for me, that's one of the reasons why I'm so much more fascinated with them being in the 60s than in the 30s. Not to say that the 30s were easier for Black people, but during that time period, you do have the civil rights movement and whatnot. And so for the Black characters, and just the white characters in this show, I am kind of fascinated to see like how that level of fear is significantly different from the 30s and the Cold War to something being in the 60s. That does fascinate me. And I'm glad that you bring up the idea of like that you hope that they show the past and they diversify it and treat it as normal. And I do see like your next comment here, but I would like to say I do share it with you in a sense of like the idea of like normalizing it. He uses an example of Batman the Cape Crusader. And one of the things that, while I love Batman the Cape Crusader taking place in like the 20s and the 30s or whatever that time period is, I'm just like, there's no way they have a Black commissioner, bro. There's no way that people of the LGBTQ community are that open about their sexuality during this time period. Like, it's just not believable. And granted, yes, it is animation, but I am a believer, like, if you are going to set a series in that time period, you have got to act like you can't change history. As much as you want to say like, hey, we're all accepted now, you were not in the 20s and 30s. You should have been. I'm not saying that what I'm saying, they should have been, but I'm saying the reality of it is there's no way there's a Black commissioner. There's no way you've got a Latina, AG or detective who's openly LGBTQ and everybody's like, yeah, that's normal. Like, no. Like, I would have liked to have seen Batman Cape Crusader kind of push back a little bit more against that. But aside from that, the fact that this is taking place in the 60s, I think Andy Muschietti and Jason Fuchs, I think it feels like they're very much aware of it. And I think because of the fact that they mentioned specifically like what terrifies people or what's their biggest fear during different time periods. I mean, I look, and I don't even know if this is in context or to everything, but I do expect there to be some sort of like racial struggles in here, whether that be some of the Black characters, some of the white characters within Derry. I do think that they will live very much in the reality of that time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would be very surprised if they didn't, because even within the first It movie, there were definitely some like racial undertones when it came to one of the kids, and like the way he was bullied compared to how the other kids were bullied. Like, it wasn't as direct as them saying, oh, we're bullying you because you're Black, but there were definitely, the implications were definitely there. So I'd be very shocked, because that was in the 80s and this is the 60s, so I'd be very shocked if they just like completely ignored that.
Yeah, I would be pretty shocked too. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Marcelino, but I do think that they have a good understanding of that. So I'm looking forward to this series. But let us know your thoughts, guys. How excited are you for the It Welcome to Derry television series? Did you like the films themselves? Are you excited to kind of go back to different time periods? Definitely go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that, Stuart, we got two more topics that we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. We have an update, Stuart, in regards to the upcoming Tomb Raider series. It's going to be showrun and I believe written by Phoebe Waller-Jones. You probably recognize her from the series Fleabag. She was also just in the recent Indiana Jones movie as well. She is in fact set to go ahead and tackle the brand new Tomb Raider series. And as we get closer, Stuart, it does seem as though the short list of actresses that might be up for this role may have been revealed, or at least people that are being eyed for this role. And I want to go ahead and share this with you and get some of your thoughts on this. As far as who should play Tomb Raider, in all reality, I really don't know, Stuart. I think if there is anybody that probably comes to mind, just because she's doing the voice work right now for her on the Netflix animated series, I love me some Haley Atwell. I truly do, and I think people have been really impressed with her work as Tomb Raider voice wise. I think she had some action pieces in Mission Impossible, the recent Mission Impossible movies also. So I know she's more than formidable when it comes to doing action. Maybe a little bit on the older side. They may be wanting to go a little bit of a younger route, but this is some of the names that are being thrown out right now. This is from Deadline.com, letting us know that Tomb Raider Sophie Turner and Lucy Boynton testing for Lara Croft in the Phoebe Waller-Bridges Amazon series. Two names I probably never would have attached to this. It says exclusive in what is shaping up to be one of the hottest TV casting searches this fall. Amazon MGM Studios has assembled a wish list of accomplished young actors for the role of Lara Croft in Tomb Raider, Prime Video's high-profile series adaptation of the video game franchise from an Emmy-winning Fleabag creator Phoebe Waller-Jones. Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones and Lucy Boynton from Bohemian Rhapsody are poised to test for the part previously played on the big screen by Angelina Jolie and Alicia Vikander. It is unclear who else would be doing a test for the famous role, a process that has been shrouded in secrecy. Some of the names on the wish list alongside Turner and Boynton include Emma Corrin and Mackenzie Davis. Now, I'm a Mackenzie Davis fan. But it says are not believed to be testing. Thanks a lot, Deadline. Thanks a lot. Why even drop their names, bro, if they're not even testing? That sucks. But it says the combination of one of the best known action heroines in popular culture, one of the top female TV creators, has tuned Lara Croft into a hotly pursued role for actors in their late 20s and 30s. Tomb Raider, which Amazon Studios head Jennifer Salke called epic and globe-trotting while announcing the series order in May, has been a passion project for the writer and executive Waller-Bridge, who spoke fondly of the title character at the time of the pickup. So those are the two names that are on the short list right now: Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones and Lucy Boynton from Bohemian Rhapsody. And it seems as though there could potentially be other females, but they have not been revealed as to who's going to be on the short list of this. First thoughts, Stuart, with either of these ladies, and I don't know, do you happen to have a casting in mind? I'm kind of curious.
I'm kind of going with yours, Haley Atwell, and that's only because, like, I think that Tomb Raider is kind of like at her most popular, and I can't say best because I've actually never really been a huge Tomb Raider fan. Like, I played the remake on the Xbox 360 when it first launched, but that's as far as my experience with it goes. And then, of course, I saw the Angelina Jolie movie when I was really young, and I remember enjoying it, but I also don't remember much about the movie itself other than Angelina Jolie really looking good in the outfit. But in my outsider perspective, it kind of seems like Tomb Raider is at her best, or at the very least at her most popular, when she's like the more experienced version of the character, because they've tried a couple times now to give us the young version of Tomb Raider that we've seen in the most recent video games, and it seems like fans don't connect with that version of the character as much as they did with the old school version. So I would say Haley Atwell would probably be my choice, because you're getting someone who's like older, more experienced, and she could pull off like a Tomb Raider that looks like she's definitely been around for a little bit. But I'd say between the two of these actresses that we have, I don't know if I've really seen Lucy in that many things. I don't think I've seen other than Barbie, but even then she played like such a minor role in that movie, I don't even remember. I'd say probably Sophie Turner would be my choice, only because like I've seen a lot more of her. She I don't know. She definitely has the athletic build that you really need for a Tomb Raider actress, I think. I'm not sure if she has muscles, because I also do think that, like, if you're doing a character like Tomb Raider, if you're going to be doing a lot of climbing, you got to definitely look like you're a climber and have somewhat of a build. But I think that at least when it comes to the acting and at least the athletics that you would need for the character, I think she definitely has it.
I'm kind of hoping that she goes through some level of like rigorous training for sure. Whoever the actor is certainly going to be, maybe a few months of working out, maybe some rock climbing work too to get that upper body ready. Like Alicia Vikander just looked like just ripped as can be. That she really got sort of in like peak physical shape for that role, and you definitely need to. There's a part of me that kind of agrees with you, Stuart. Like I don't know. I don't know how people receive a younger Tomb Raider compared to the older Tomb Raider. Like when I think of just video game wise, I haven't finished the newest trilogy, but I am in the middle of like the second one. And I have enjoyed the story. There is something about a inexperienced Lara Croft that I think does work. But I think because of the fact that I love Haley Atwell so much, like there's a part of me that would like to see sort of a seasoned Lara Croft, at her height, sort of thing, having gone on, different adventures and whatever the case may be. So that's definitely the route that I definitely want to go. But I can understand why they would go the more younger route for sure. There is something fascinating about, not to say I don't want to go the whole Mary Sue route, right? But of like, oh, she can do anything. There's no like, there's she's got no difficulty. She doesn't have anything she's got to overcome. I think the idea of having Lara Croft at a younger age kind of cancels that out. And I do want to. There is something fascinating about just seeing her being inexperienced and having to really work her way through whatever mystery and whatever tombs that she has to kind of go through. I mean, clearly there's some level of experience that Lara Croft has at such a young age, but I can definitely see why they are going to go this route. As far as like the two of them, I'm with you there in the sense like I can see like if I had to choose, just because I'm not too familiar with one of the ladies' work here, I probably would go with Sophie Turner, but I'm just going to be honest. I feel like there's probably plenty of other actresses that could probably do this role outside of them. Like, I'm not excited for either one of them, to be honest with you. Like, while I enjoyed Sophie Turner in Game of Thrones, I really don't know if I've seen her in anything else outside of that to really know, like, what her range is and what she's capable of as far as being an actress goes. But to me, I would just think that there would be other actresses out there that could really do this role justice outside of them. So I do hope eventually the other names on the short list get revealed. Because I for me personally, I'm hoping that there are other options. But if they're looking at these two, clearly they're good at something, but just definitely not my first choice.
You know who probably would be my first choice if they were going the young Tomb Raider route? Margaret Qualley. She was recently in this movie that came out a few months ago called The Substance, which if you guys have not seen, freaking amazing. Yeah, it is. It's basically like it's almost borderline a comedy with
like
horror, like body horror imagery. It is freaking amazing. Check it out. Definitely.
I like her features too. I can easily see her as a Lara Croft for sure.
Yeah.
She's only 30 years old too.
Yeah, she's the perfect age range, and so far everything I've seen her in, because she was in, like The Substance. I didn't see Drive Away Dolls all the way through, but I saw parts of it when I was working it at the Draft House. She seemed pretty good in that, and then she was great in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well. So yeah, I think she's just got a lot of potential. And although I say potential, but she's been so much at this point, she's got the experience that she needs for a character like that. Yeah. So I think she could do Lara Croft really well.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see, man. Hopefully more names wind up dropping, but that's all the information we've got so far on the Tomb Raider TV series. But it is pushing ahead. They the fact that they're casting alone must mean that they're getting ready to go into production relatively soon. I would definitely assume next year, whether that's like spring or summer, who definitely knows. But when you're talking about casting, it's probably not too far along. It's probably not too far away from filming. So, yeah, let us know your thoughts, guys. Do you have anybody in mind that you personally would like to see as Tomb Raider? If you've got any own fantasy casting, definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below.
Well, I think we all know that this role is meant for Nick Frost. Nick Frost needs to play Tomb Raider for sure.
Nick Frost can do no wrong.
Exactly.
And then last but not least, Where are my mecha heads at? Because look, if you have been ever a big fan of Robotech, Mobile Suit Gundam, I mean, there's a bunch of them out there right now. You are definitely going to be happy to continue to learn that the Gundam live action movie that was announced a while ago has officially landed a director. So things are moving along well, Stuart. Let's go ahead and pull this up here. This comes for us from deadline.com. Gundam movie at Legendary taps Sweet Tooth showrunner Jim Mickle to direct. Stuart, have you ever watched Sweet Tooth by any chance? I heard some things about it.
I haven't watched it, but I have not heard a single bad thing about it.
Yeah, I haven't heard any bad things about it for sure, but it looks like they have landed their director. It says exclusive Sweet Tooth showrunner Jim Mickle is coming on to not only direct but to write as well, coming on to write and direct a live action adaptation of Gundam, which has been co-developed between Legendary and Bandai. Mickle has also produced will also produce with his partner through their company Nightshade. One of the most revered anime, Gundam is thought of as a Star Wars or Marvel Universe of Japan and is the pioneer of the mecha genre of IP. The plot is currently under wraps, but the film is looking to start production in early 2025. It says internationally renowned franchise spanning 83 animated series and movies. Its toy and retail businesses are huge, with the Gundam franchise generating over $600 million annually. This will be its first live action film. That's kind of crazy. Legendary has been high on this priority for some time. At one point was working on a movie with Netflix, but both the streamer and the previous writer are no longer involved. Most recently, Mickle was director and showrunner and writer on Netflix acclaimed series Sweet Tooth, based on the Vertigo comic. Mickle led the series to a 97 certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes and 20 Emmy nominations over its 3 seasons, winning 4 awards. That's crazy to me. So he's on board right now, Stuart. How excited are you for this film?
So I can't say I'm a huge Gundam fan, unfortunately. The only series I've watched was Gundam Wing, another show that it's actually been on my list for a while to rewatch because I actually used to love that show. But I always appreciate a franchise that has the amount of history as something like Gundam. I know that, like, it's a show that's still going on, that's been going on for so long. And even if you know nothing about Gundam, you at least recognize the name and the iconic look. And I think that if there's any like anime franchise that would make for like a huge sci-fi, like, potentially like something that could have potential to be the next Star Wars. I'm not quite saying it's going to be that popular. I'm saying it has the potential to be that popular. It's definitely Gundam. Expansive world. I don't know what the continuity is like, because I know that like it's
all
like,
over the place, I think.
Yeah, because I know that like with Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, they have a new set of Gundams like every season. But I have no idea if they're all like connected in the same world or not. But I'm assuming they'd just be starting with the original Gundam series. If that's if they're adapting one, that'd be the one they'd be adapting. But yeah, I think that what's also pretty cool about this is that if the movie succeeds, even if it's not like the biggest big hit, like the big blockbuster that they're hoping for, if it's a good movie, it'll at the very least get more people interested in getting into the Gundam franchise, and it would probably make Gundam even bigger in America than it already is, because we already know it's huge in Japan. So it'd be kind of cool to see the popularity take off in America. And heck, it may even encourage me to check out more than just Gundam Wing.
Growing up as a kid, I used to watch Robotech a lot. And I think Robotech was like the Mobile Suit Gundam series, but like with a U.S. title and English voiceovers, if I'm not mistaken. Gundam. One of the other Gundam series I remember watching was Gundam Seed, if I'm not mistaken, also. But this franchise has been around for such a long time. I think as far as like timeline and stuff goes, I think you have some series that are just like its own individual story. Others are, intermingled at different like time periods of the timeline, some before certain galactic wars, some after. I mean, it's kind of all over the place at times. So if anything, I would assume they're probably going to start off with like the very first series or the very first like origin of it and open this up. But I would agree with you in the sense that if it is successful, I mean, the different routes that they can certainly go with this is very hopeful. For me, I am really looking forward to this. Outside of like Pacific Rim, um, I'm trying to think of like another big mecha movie that we've had on the big screen outside of like the early Power Ranger kind of movies, if you will. So I do think that there is an appetite for a big mecha film to be successful. But I do think the difference here between Pacific Rim and Mobile Suit Gundam is that it's got a huge amount of lore and just history for them to really sort of tap into, and really dense storytelling, whether that be from like the intergalactic wars and like politics and things like that they can really sort of tap into to make their world just that much more expansive. So I do think if done right, and look, you got the Sweet Tooth writer now sort of on board. We'll see if he can kind of bring that element to the big screen, because this is a franchise that's been waiting for an adaptation, and I just don't know if the owners of the license and the property would be willing to make a live action film if it wasn't exactly what they were hoping that it would. Like, I would think that Gundam would be something that they would protect as far as like an IP goes. And so the fact that this is even happening, I think, is a good sign. We'll see how far along this gets. I mean, trust me, we've seen plenty of times where a writer has come on board and then several months later, a writer has departed. And then we have to wait months and it being stuck in developmental hell. So, once casting perhaps maybe starts to begin a little bit more on this Gundam live action, I'll probably be a little bit more excited for it. But I do think that this is a great IP to certainly tap into. And I think we've said this before, if you're Power Rangers, you're on the outside looking in of what could have been, because now you've got Gundam that's set to go ahead and be a movie. You got Voltron that's set out there that Amazon is pushing forward to be a movie, and Power Rangers is nowhere to be found right now. And so I do hope that a big IP like this takes advantage of what looks to be like sort of a gap. I don't know how many people are asking for big mecha movies or whatever the case may be, but I think, again, that mixed in with Earth-based stuff, space stuff, politics, big intergalactic wars, it sounds promising for something that they can certainly tap into. So we'll see if this is like the next big sci-fi hit, if you will, when it comes to franchises on the big screen. But regardless, I think this is a good pickup for them, and best of luck. I hope that the script really flushes itself out the way that they want.
Mm-hmm. I hope okay, actually, let me ask you this. When it comes to the fights, do you want to see Transformers type fights where even though it's huge in scale, it's still like super fast paced? Or would you rather see something like Pacific Rim where the movement feels a lot slower because you're watching something, it feels like you're watching it more from a human perspective. So it comes off as like kind of like slower. What kind of fight style would you like in this movie?
I'm gonna need Transformers-esque style. I'm gonna need fast-paced stuff, because I think in Robotech, didn't they have it to where like the mecha could change into like a jet, and they had like 3 different forms that it could change into a jet. It could turn into like a land base with his like half jet, half legs, and then, or maybe I'm thinking of Robocross. That might be like I'm thinking of Robotech. Yeah, I want to say that was influenced from Gundam, if I'm not mistaken. So I and plus with the big mecha in space battles with the swords and the millions of missiles coming out and just the fast-paced movements in space. Yeah, man, I'm gonna need it to be like Transformers-esque level battles for sure. I need these transitions to be really smooth between different modes that they tackle.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I was at first thinking Pacific Rim, but the more I'm thinking about it, yeah, you're right. I think if we're gonna do Gundam, you got to go the fast-paced route.
Now I'm like, is Robotech Gundam? But I'm pretty sure it is.
Because
Oh no, it's not. It's not. Oh, that's what I'm thinking. Macross. Is Macross not the same as Gundam? No, it's not. Okay. So I was thinking Robotech. Um, it says Robotech is a version of Macross. That's what I'm thinking of. That's why I was like Robocross. No, it's Macross. Okay, so I've been misunderstanding it. Although I did watch Gundam Seed, they definitely are huge mechs that have abilities to go into space and big sword battles and whatnot. But Robotech is inspired off of Macross. I would assume Macross then is different than Gundam.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that it wouldn't have surprised me, only because that does seem that used to be something really popular that like used to happen with anime, is that America would adapt an anime, but then like not only completely change the story, but at sometimes even just straight up change the name itself.
Yeah, it says here's comic book resources. Even has Macross versus Gundam. The key differences between the classic mecha franchises. So yeah, they were two big different mecha franchises, but I still love the Gundam stuff that I certainly watched. So I'm all on board. They did say Gundam is definitely more political and war sort of heavy. So that would certainly make a little bit more sense to me. So yeah, Gundam Seed subseries is the most developed separate continuity, with this cosmic era getting two different shows and several spin-off mangas. So that's the one that I remember watching last, was the Gundam Seed series.
Okay.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on Gundam coming to live action now that they found themselves the writer and director for this series. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that, Stuart, let's move on to our last segment of the day. I think you know what time it is.
I do indeed. And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And we're going to get into live viewer questions as we go ahead and wrap up this show for you guys today. Let me go ahead and put on some music here. And if you ever want to leave a live viewer question, how do you go about doing so? I'm glad to hear you right now.
I think your mic is still adjusting.
I think it's working out probably, right?
There we go. Now it is.
I was going to give it a little bit of time. But always go over to our main YouTube page, as you see right here. Click on that community tab. And usually Saturday afternoons or Saturday evenings, we will drop a live viewer question post for you guys today. So let's go ahead and tackle some of these, Stu. Sort by newest first. All right, Marcelino coming through with the first questions. Here's one thing I noticed when watching the 90s Sentai. They look and feel very outdated. A lot of their technology makes it look like it was filmed in the 70s and 80s. For example, the screen made the colors look dull and very muted, and some of the special effects look something from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Even though it was a 90s TV show at the time, still were able to accomplish a lot of things, and early CGI was fairly common. In fact, I would argue that 90s Power Ranger seasons look more expensive and better looking, and also the Sentai seasons of the 2000s looked like they were filmed in the 90s. It wasn't until the 2010s when Sentai looked like they were filmed the year they came out. Why is that? Did Japan just not have access to the same type of technology that US had at the time? And why didn't they use more early CGI graphics in the 90s when compared to other shows? Because even Power Rangers was able to use CGI regardless of it looking cheap and being very expensive. There's got to be a reason for that. I don't know what it is, though.
My assumption is just the rush productions. They didn't have time to make sure the effects were really polished until we got to a point where, like we are now, where CG is a lot. I don't want to say easier, because CG is never easy, and I know that if I say that, it comes off as, oh, CG is so easy, we don't need to pay artists. That's not the case at all. But it is easier to do cheap CG a lot faster than it was like in the early 2000s. And I think, if I were to guess, that might have something to do with why, when they started to look more modern, they looked a lot more modern.
Something I find, why do footages of Super Sentai before Bukinger looks outdated, all compared to Power Rangers and Kamen Rider? Says the perception that early Super Sentai footage looks more outdated could be attributed to several factors. One, production quality and budget. The production quality of Super Sentai in the 1970s and 80s were generally low than most recent series. This includes the use of practical effects, costumes, and set designs that may not have aged well. Filming techniques, and technology used in early Super Sentai series were less advanced. For instance, the use of film versus video, lighting, and camera equipment has evolved significantly, affecting the overall visual quality.
Ooh, that is a good point. Yeah, because when those shows were made, it wasn't until Samurai or their version of Samurai when they finally switched to digital. And when they switched to digital, they also switched to HD as well.
Over the years, both Sentai and Kamen Rider have evolved in terms of visual style. Modern series often incorporate digital effects, high definition filming, and more dynamic cinematography. So yeah, it just looks like it says the aesthetics and cultural context of the time when the shows were produced also play a role. The visual language of the 70s and 80s differs significantly from today's standards, and that was once considered cutting edge can now seem outdated. So yeah, it seems like it's just maybe slow in them getting up to standards of filmmaking and techniques. That's what it sounds like to me. You also say, despite the mixed reception of Avatar: The Last Airbender has garnered, there are some things fans are hopeful for, and that is to adapt the canon comics for season 4 and even 5. Many Avatar fans are not comic readers, so they feel left out on what happens in the comic series. It's not in the TV show format, especially with how they answer what happened to Zuko's mother. That should have been animated. Plus, there isn't so much weight adapting the comics compared to animated series, since the comics are less known. Would you like to see this? And it says it. So right now, Avatar, I think, is only supposed to give us a season 2 and 3, but I would assume he's asking, like, if we were to get a season 4 and 5, could that be the sense of adapting the canon comics? Would you like to see that?
I would not be against that. That actually sounds like it'd be kind of fun to see. They actually have already, which is really cool, they've brought in references, like little nods to some of the expanded universe of Avatar. Like they reference a couple of events from the Kyoshi novel that came out. So this one wasn't a graphic novel, it's just a regular novel, but it was written by the Avatar creators and it's referenced. So I do like that. Clearly the people that work on the show, even if the writing isn't my favorite, it is clear that they love the franchise and that they it's clearly written by Avatar fans, which I really like.
He also asks, I asked this before, but I want to know if anything has changed. You always defend stuff that gets labeled as woke or SJW, but what does forced diversity look like to you? When do you reach a point where you have to agree with the anti-woke crowd and call out the stuff for being too woke? I've seen people like Hassan Kandar, he mentions a bunch of other people, Nando versus Movies, Comic, Drake, Double Toasted, and many more have defended diverse products in the past, reaching their limits. They have criticized stuff like Velma, Peter Pan and Wendy, Batman, Rachel Zegler's Snow White, Netflix Cleopatra, and the canceled New Warriors comic as using diversity the wrong way, and we're forced to agree with people they normally don't like and normally call them out for it. The only time for me is probably like the New Warriors comic, using diversity the wrong way. And then the only other example I would probably have is kind of similar to what we just talked about with Batman Cape Crusader. You know, I don't have a problem with them being black or being LGBTQ, but I think just speaking to the realities of that time period in the sense of what was truly like. Those are probably the only two moments that I would have issues with it.
I think, like, for me, it's like if you did something like that and then you were trying to claim that you were being historically accurate, because for me, like, I can put past with Batman because I'm like, it's you know, a fictional universe.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then in fact, there's like this Netflix show that's really popular, especially with women. Like my both my girlfriend and our roommate really love it. But it's like old timey, I don't even know. It's like kind of a romance, but like I wish I could remember the name of it because I'm describing it terribly. But regardless, it's like an old timey series, but you see a lot of people of color in power just as much as you see with white people in power, and there's never the topic of race never comes up. You know, and for some, you know, if that show was trying to claim that it was historically accurate, or if they were trying to take itself, if it was trying to take itself seriously, I would be like, okay, that's really dumb. But because it doesn't, it like doesn't treat itself like this takes place in the real world. It treats itself like it's like it is a fictional world. You know, things like that don't really bother me too much. No, not Interview with a Vampire. It's not a fictional show per se. Even though it's like clearly not taking place in the real world, like I said, because of the whole thing. But you know. Yeah. It's like I'll nitpick at that, but it doesn't tend to bother me unless like they're actually trying to claim, oh no, this is historically accurate. Then it's like, see, now you're just trying to hide, you know, from, you know, dark history, which, you know, we should never ignore, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and no, I think you make a good point. I mean, when I think of Batman Cape Crusader, yes, it is an animated sort of, you know, animated alternate world for sure. So yeah, I can definitely say, I can definitely understand that because it is a fictional world, you know, the idea of how they handle that type of stuff. But yeah, maybe if it was something more historically accurate, then yeah, maybe I should have a bigger problem with it. But those are really the only two things that kind of come to mind for me, though.
Yeah, and I will also say this, like, if that does kind of bother other people, that's I tend to not like look at that as like the same way I look at people who just like hate anything that has diversity.
You know? Completely different. Yeah,
there are arguments I will hear from people where they'll say, "Oh yeah, no, see, I don't like the diversity in this. This feels too forced and too much like pandering." Like I think, for example, South Park actually tackled that topic really well in their episode, where like where it was or actually it wasn't even an episode; it was like a special. Where basically it was just the whole thing making fun of like both how Disney panders so much that it's like incredibly obvious, but like how if you're just gonna shit on stuff for being woke, that's equally as lazy as Disney, you know, pandering to, you know, trying to be more woke. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get you there. The most talented man in the world is here. He says, what do you remember when you heard and saw the news of the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing and how we eventually got a movie about it 3 years later in 2016? The film received mixed reactions for how the movie focused heavily on the drama when it came to the characters that no one really cared about. While the film effectively captured the tension and urgency of the manhunt of the two terrorists, it often diverted attention from the real victims and heroes of the story to focus on the fictional character played by Mark Wahlberg. I often revisit the movie and the story, and just like with Wahlberg, the plot focused heavy on the police and the FBI, led by actors Kevin Bacon and John Goodman, arguing about whether to release important documents and photos of marathon victims instead of solely focus on the aftermath of the bombing itself was really unnecessary.
If I'm being honest, I think it's kind of in poor taste to make a movie about something so serious
so
like
recent.
That soon.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that movie. So I'm kind of glad I didn't know about it, and I don't really have any interest in watching it.
Yeah, it was a little insensitive to me, for sure. Not that early. I do remember the news reports and seeing the footage and stuff. Really tragic day for sure. But I unfortunately never saw the movie itself. Some great actors though: Kevin Bacon, John Goodman, and Mark Wahlberg. Maybe I'll give it a shot to check it out myself. But I have not seen that. But yeah, I think a little bit poor taste to come out that soon. I'm trying to think, did we get a 9/11 movie shortly after 9/11, like 3 years into 9/11? I wonder when the first 9/11 movie came out, like not just a docu-series, but like, was it Flight 97 or something like that, or Flight 47? I can't remember the name of it, but maybe a little too soon.
Yeah.
Jessica Friedman, do you think The Legend of Korra will get a live action adaptation?
Eventually, yeah. Especially if because I know that the reviews haven't been the most positive for the Netflix adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but the views are still good, and hence why they renewed it for 2 more seasons. So I think that as long as there's viewership for that show, you know, Netflix is going to want to keep it going. So whether it's a season 4 or another spin-off show, but this time featuring Korra, I do think we'll get. I do think it'll happen eventually.
She also asked, who do you think will have the best box office numbers, Wicked or Moana 2?
That is a good question, because
let me look up Moana box office mojo. What did Moana make originally?
I think, okay, I'm predicting this. Wicked is going to have a, pun intended, wicked opening weekend. Its consistency is going to depend on the movie itself. I think that the biggest problem for me, you know, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be the only one, is with it being a 2-part movie. I don't think people are going to like that. I think that it'll have a good opening weekend, but then the moment it becomes like, you know, word gets out there that this isn't like a complete movie, this is half a movie, that's going to be what's going to really affect the box office numbers for it. So I think it'll do a killer opening weekend, better than Moana, but Moana's going to have a more consistent run, because people love that. I really love the first Moana movie.
Me too.
I'm pretty sure people are really hyped for this one too. So I'm predicting Moana is going to go up. It's going to be on top from Wicked.
I do like your perspective on that. I do think there is something to the idea of Wicked being a 2-parter that might turn some people off. And first off, let me just say, I think both of these movies are going to do buku bucks at the box office. I think Moana first one worldwide made 643 million. I can easily see Moana 2 if it's as good as the second one. I'm getting kind of bullish if I want to say it's a $1 billion movie or not, or if it's just going to come just under it. I think it's coming out at a good time too. If I had to bet though, I will go the opposite here, Stuart. I will say Wicked, just based off of it having been a musical and being around for such a long time that it's gathered such a huge following. People talk about it all the freaking time. Again, I think both of these movies are going to do great. Hell, they may both end up being $1 billion films, but I think Wicked ekes it out. I think Wicked ekes it out. Maybe not by a lot, but I think it ekes it out.
Yeah, I let me put it this way: I won't be surprised if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong either. I could easily see Moana just becoming just an incredible film for people, similar to how like Inside Out 2 just did. My friends call me Joseph. What's up, Joseph? The announcement of the 4th Spider-Man film with Tom Holland returning has definitely sparked a lot of discussion among fans. Many felt that No Way Home provided a satisfying conclusion to Peter's MCU journey. It offered a bittersweet ending, with Peter sacrificing his personal life for the greater good. This emotional payoff left many feeling content with the character's arc. However, the prospect of a 4th film has generated significant excitement. Fans are eager to see where Peter's story goes next, especially after the multiverse-shattering events of No Way Home. The involvement of destined Daniel Cretton as a new director, known for his work on Shang-Chi and Legends of the Ten Rings, adds another layer of intrigue. It's interesting to see how divided fans' opinions are on this. Some may be hesitant to see a continuation, fearing it could diminish the impact of No Way Home. Others are thrilled at the opportunity to explore new storylines and character development. What storylines and characters from the Spider-Man comics or animated series would you like to see Spider-Man 4 film in the 4th Spidey film in the MCU? Well, I will say I am one of those people that is eager to see more Tom Holland as Spider-Man. You know, we've gotten the opportunity to see him in high school. Now I definitely want to see him in college. I think you could get a good trilogy set of films out of Tom Holland's new Spider-Man. So I really am intrigued to kind of see. And I think one of the things that we've talked about, I don't know if there's a particular storyline from the comics or animated series, but that I would want to see. But one of them, some of the characters I definitely would have liked to have seen in the Spider-Man 4. I need me a Black Cat, man. I've been saying this for years. I need me a Black Cat, and now is like the perfect time to do so, with MJ not really being, I don't want to say she's not playing a significant role, but that relationship not being a thing anymore. This is a perfect time to put some temptation in Peter Parker's life, and a Black Cat storyline would be great. I personally would love to see, I don't even necessarily need Daredevil or the Kingpin in here, but you know, maybe whatever the Punisher storyline was from the Spider-Man comics. You know, I still want to see Punisher hunting down Peter Parker at some point in time. So maybe a blend of both of those. I don't know how you put those two together to make a film, but as far as character-wise, Black Cat and Punisher in some sort of storyline, I would have personally liked to have seen in the fourth Spider-Man film. But I'm starting to think I'm not getting that whatsoever, and more I think about it.
I did hear rumors that Sydney Sweeney is supposed to be Black Cat in Spider-Man 4, or that she is planning on playing Black Cat in a future Spider-Man project.
God, I hope so.
Yeah, because man, she got screwed over with what she was given in Madam Web. She deserves a second shot in the Spider-Man universe,
Yeah, she really does.
Or should I say, she deserves a second swing in the Spider-Man universe. Sorry, that was bad.
What about you? Is there any particular storyline, Stuart?
Ooh.
I'm the guy that would say, give me a Clone Wars, not Clone Wars, a Clone Saga Ben Reilly appearance in here. But then you would have to introduce the Jackal and whatnot. Like maybe one of these movies ends on a cliffhanger of like Tom Holland Spider-Man being like dies or something like. I don't know. I don't know how they would do it, but what would you want?
I would want, and I don't know how, I don't think they could pull this off, especially not like, but if we were to pretend the ending of Morbius didn't happen, I would just want a Sinister Six movie with Spider-Man, basically, and I would want like very little involvement from other heroes. I would want it to mostly be focused on Spider-Man trying to stop like a corrupt Sinister Six that, maybe are working under someone like Wilson Fisk or something like that. And then I also, another storyline. I also would love to see the symbiote make a comeback from No Way Home, the little symbiote that was left in the MCU, and just see Spider-Man now kind of in his like darkest moment where he's kind of alone, and just see how much worse that gets once he gets the symbiote attached to his suit and it starts to corrupt his mind and get him to like become even like more like basically even though he's like an optimistic dude, he's facing in his dark times, and the symbiote would probably like kind of take away that optimism from him. I want to see him get challenged, like on a grounded level,
Yeah, absolutely. I think I might have skipped over some people's. I might have skipped over some people's questions. Peg C, what are your thoughts on the rumored trademark name for the Super Sentai series called Number One Sentai Goiz Yuger? Let me see. What's this about? Japanese trademark. Yeah, there are plenty of rumors flying about the next series, from potential actors, from storylines to suits. Nothing has been confirmed. Next Super Sentai Number One Sentai Goes Yuger. That's interesting. I mean, I find it interesting that they're literally using the number one in the name. So I am kind of curious, does it start off with like just one person, one team member maybe? I don't know. Interesting though. Have you heard of the new fan-made Power Ranger video game, Pop Hero Games? It's going to feature every Power Ranger from different seasons, including Zeo. Have you heard of that?
Ooh, no, I haven't.
Me either. I'm going to have to look that up now. What's your favorite version of how the Power Rangers obtain their ninja powers? Which version of the Ninja Megazord is better? The ones from the show or the ones from the movie? Oh, the movie.
The show for sure. Because
the movie.
Really? You like the movie more? That's funny. No, I like the because like it was kind of charming, like the early CG with the movie, but I definitely kind of prefer with the show. Just using the regular like Zord suits that.
The Zord. Okay, yeah, no. So for the how they obtain their ninja powers. I want the movie. But as far as the version of the Ninja Megazord, yeah, I would agree with you. Give me the show one for that one.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that too. Like the way they get it, I think it was kind of cooler in the movie, especially because of the stakes, because they weren't even sure if they were going to be able to come back home after they got the powers. But they're willing to risk it all for Zordon. I love that.
Let's see here. Jessica Fryman, we already did that one already. Actually, let me see if I can refresh this page, because for some reason that's not allowing me to. Power of the Morphing Grid. I would assume this is AJ. Follow up to 2 weeks ago. Melanie Perkins was the first actress in the franchise who was the main villain from the previous season to become Power Rangers in the next season. Patricia Jai Lee, who played Cassie, was indeed going to be the new Pink Lost Galaxy Ranger, but she didn't like that she was going to be paid as just a guest actor. I wouldn't either. So she declined. I would have loved that because Cassie's one of my favorite Pink Rangers. The producers and writers still wanted to honor Kendrick's legacy without having to introduce a brand new character and taking away from the main story. So the best choice was Melody Perkins, who was already an alumni of the franchise, and her character had more story to tell. And since Lost Galaxy already had connection to Power Rangers in space, because there was obviously a lot of Sentai footage to use, they still had to incorporate the Pink Ranger, since the Pink Ranger and Ginga Man never actually died. That's why in the closing scene of Power of Pink, when the Space Rangers said goodbye to the Galaxy Rangers, they were already in their suits. That scene was reshot so Cassie could leave without staying. That was the time Patricia Jolie had already refused to return as only a guest character. I have to acknowledge that at Power Morphicon a few years back, Valerie Vernon said at the Lost Galaxy panel that not only was it a huge shock that she had to leave the show, but the scene of Kendrick's being brought back to life in the finale was shot right before she left the series. Longtime fans would know that the show would film scenes out of order. Saban was at least considerate to leave Valerie's name in the opening credits so Valerie can get her medical expenses covered. Well, thank you, Saban. Damn, I feel like that's
Saban doing something nice. That's unusual, but cool.
Thoughtful of you, bro.
Yeah. Like I've heard, like, you know, just how the production for Lost Galaxy was an absolute nightmare, which is so weird because it also was like the most expensive Power Ranger show. So you would have thought they would have given them, the production team, like some more time and leniency to work on, like, you know, polishing everything out. But I guess it's like more money means less time, so that's why everything was kind of like rushed during the overall production of the show.
See if you can find Doomsday's question. He's got a couple, but for some reason it won't let me hit the view more. Same thing with Sam. I don't know if Sam's on here. He says, "Hey guys, Shashir Zamata played Jennifer Kale in Agatha All Along. She might return in Midnight Suns movie." You know, I will say the Jen character is not one that I really cared so much about when it comes to Agatha All Along, but I really enjoyed her performance in the last couple of episodes. I thought her getting her powers back was quite powerful. I was actually really cheering for Jen when she acquired her abilities back, and to see that out of all the witches, she's you know, looking back on the series, you know, when we talk about witches surviving the Witch's Road and we come to the realization of what the Witch's Road truly is when it comes to Billy Maximoff, Jen is really the only witch that can say she survived the Witch's Road.
Yeah.
Outside of Billy, which I think is actually pretty empowering and pretty cool at the end of the day, even though it's technically was never a real place. If it is now, that she's really the only one that's kind of survived. So I'm kind of excited to kind of see where she goes next. I've been hearing these rumors about a Midnight Suns movie. I don't know how truthful that is or if that's really something that's going to happen down the line, but I would be completely open to it. Is she a character in the comic book, Stuart?
I don't think so. She's not one that I'm familiar with at the very least. But yeah, I also really enjoyed her character in Agatha. I was slightly disappointed because when she mentioned getting her powers taken away by someone who claimed to be a doctor, my immediate thought was, oh, that's the I forgot his name, but the guy from Doctor Strange, you know, who ends up at the very end deciding he wants to take away magic from everyone. So I thought that's who she was referring to, but then she mentions later, oh, this happened like 100 years ago. I'm like, damn it! Oh, they had such a cool opportunity to tie it into Doctor Strange, and then they just like decided not to. I'm like, oh, that would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, but that would be cool if she comes into Midnight Suns.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm rooting for her. I did manage to get Doomsday's questions up. Did you get around to watching Power Rangers Cosmic Fury? And so, what were your thoughts about it? Yeah, I still haven't finished it, bro. I don't want to say goodbye to these characters, bro. I'm never gonna finish it, Stuart. Never.
I'm just gonna say, man, that the villain's motivation is one of my favorites in Power Rangers. Like, it is funny and it also kind of makes sense too, but it is the funniest, like, most ingenious, like, Power Ranger villain motivation I've ever heard.
All right, maybe one day I'll sit down with my son and watch it one day. The other day, a friend shared an interesting theory with me about the connection between characters Decker from Samurai and Cole from Wild Force. According to my friend's theory, Decker was originally Cole from Wild Force and was cursed by Serator, transforming him into the half-human Nylok Decker. The theory suggests that Decker seems to be freed from his curse and believes that Jaden is the key to defeating and freeing him. After being defeated and released from the curse, Decker transforms back into Cole and dedicates himself to helping animals. This theory uniquely connects Samurai to Wild Force and could serve as a legacy sequel. What do you think about it?
I have to rewatch Samurai to know if that would actually work, but I like it. It is kind of weird that they brought him back into Samurai, but then like didn't try to tie it into Wild Force. So that would be kind of a cool theory. Unfortunately, if it is true, I don't think we'll be seeing him return as the character anytime soon.
Yeah. They're definitely not going to be filming him for anything. And then last but not least, do you think Power Rangers should switch the initial morphing call, it's morphing time, to something else, since they used it for MMPR and Zeo and then brought it back for Megaforce through Cosmic Fury? If so, do you think they should switch it to Let's Ranger Up, since they only used for Operation to Jungle Fury but never again afterwards? I personally have a fondness of its morphing time, but that's just...
If it's Mighty Morphin, it's got to be its Morphin time. But if it's like, if you're doing a whole new series of Power Rangers that isn't Mighty Morphin related, I'm cool with another one. Personally, for me, even though I love its Morphin time, I kind of wish every team had their own like different call, kind of like how every captain in Star Trek has their own thing, you know?
Yes, I can see that for sure. Yeah, I would be open to that too. Either keep it its morphing time, or if you're going to go different seasons, let them all have their own different call. I would be open to that. Blossom, do you remember Black Vulcan? You guys think that it's criminal of how underrated he is? Black Vulcan. What's that, Stuart?
Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager.
Yes, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm pretty sure that's not who she means. It's a cartoon character, Black Vulcan, I guess. Is an African-American superhero on the animated series Super Friends.
Oh,
Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. I'm assuming
that's funny. So its design kind of looks similar to like it looks like a cross between Black Lightning and Black Adam, like if you fuse the two. I wonder if they just didn't have the rights to use Black Lightning, so they had to like kind of like change him, because I know that with that character, the comic book writer for him is very much like hands-on with his property, and that's why it's like harder to there are some comic book characters where even if you like own all of DC or own all of Marvel, you still have to get like the permission from the creator, and from what I hear, Black Lightning was one of those characters, so that might be why they went with Vulcan instead.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, definitely underrated for sure. Remember when I said that the current unadapted Sentais can be Power Rangers imagined by different people? For instance, Boom Boom Girl can be Power Rangers Battle Racers, and they were made by a child who eventually grew up to be a race car driver. And King Oger can be Rangers inspired by a little girl's fantasy favorite bugs. Hey, some girls like bugs, right? The rest of the Rangers can be from imaginations of fans too. I kind of dig that idea personally. Yeah, man, I think that will do it for all of our live viewer questions. If for some reason I missed some of them, please let me know. I think the grandfather's getting ready to drop Little Man off, so probably got to wrap this up here in a second anyway. But that will do it for all of our live viewer questions today, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very, very much for everybody that certainly participated. We had some great topics today. So thank you, everybody who certainly stuck around, gave your thoughts, let your voices be heard in the live chat. We definitely will be doing this again next week. Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, man, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Instagram and Letterboxd.
And you guys can find us everywhere, as you can see down below, at A+ Opinions. We're very active also over on TikTok at Hero Report. Check us out there. If you had to follow us anywhere on social media, I would definitely say our Facebook page. That's definitely where we post all of our news throughout the week. And then we pick 6 topics from there to go ahead and discuss with you guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, like this video, share this video. It certainly would help out our algorithm and our reach. But that will do it for us here today, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back next weekend. So until then, do us a big favor, as always, y'all. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and most importantly, keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.